I wish we could just turn it on. Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, April 8th. We've spent the better part of the last 2 hours listening to Howard Stern interview Tom Brady. It was incredible. I'm going to be honest, I haven't heard Howard Stern interview somebody in a while, but when I heard Tom Brady was going to be on there, I couldn't wait to hear the GOAT speak. And in the first hour of the conversation, there's a lot that you can learn about how you should live your life. I mean, granted, you could be a buffoon and an imbecile and wear an NBA basketball jersey over top of a polo and have a terrible beard and long hair and wear a sports headband that isn't the right size for your head. And you could completely just shrug it all off because this person, I don't know, after winning 6 Super Bowls and spent 20 years in your city, and maybe you hated him because of how good he was on a football field against your team. But if you listen to that first hour, Howard Stern was getting some things out of Tom Brady about how to deal with adversity and how the great become great. The 28-3 game he mentioned, shout out to Atlanta, having to relive that every single day until Tom Brady retires, and then going to have to live it on that day. And then throughout the years until he gets up to Hall of Fame, you're going to have to live that. And then like 10 years from now, maybe it'll be gone. But he talks about how when they were down 28-3, everything in his life is reframing the situation in his mind, which was just insane because Howard asked him about, do you think about the people that are going to say, oh, Tom Brady couldn't do it. Tom Brady couldn't do this. Tom Brady's bad. He's too old. And he's like, no, everything's about reframing it. It was just, there was gems being dropped, like Steve Jobs, like life gems being dropped by Tom Brady. He was prepared for this interview. I had never heard him speak in this type of form before. I obviously only hear his press conference where he says everything right all the time. He swore a couple times. Tom Brady said the F word, and I enjoyed hearing that. Tom Brady talks about penises, and I enjoyed hearing that. Tom Brady was awesome. And then they got into the football. And Howard Stern, noted not sports guy, got all the information out of Tom that I think any sports person would want to hear. Talks about how going into this last season, he knew it was going to be his last season. Even alluded to the fact that Belichick and Kraft probably knew this was going to be his last season as a Patriot. Talked about how he had nothing but respect for Belichick when Belichick was thinking about moving forward with Jimmy G, because he said the coach's job and the GM's job is to prepare the team for the future. I was an older athlete. I was playing at a high level. My job was to do my job on the field. He said every coach and GM should have been doing what Belichick was doing whenever he was thinking about replacing him with the younger Jimmy G. Now, he referenced being pick 199 again. So Tom Brady is obviously a guy that has a massive chip on his shoulder. He talked about his wife, Giselle, I think they were going to get a divorce like 3 years ago. They went to marriage counseling. She wrote him this long letter. I mean, everything that I could have potentially wanted to hear from Tom Brady, especially in this moment, especially being the greatest of all time. I heard in that interview, and we didn't hear the last 20 minutes because it's still happening right now. I think the interview is still going on right now. I can't wait to listen. I would never tell you to just like turn off our show and go to some other show. I think now is a good time to just go to another show. Honestly, Tom Brady never speaks like this. This is a massive I think the SiriusXM app crashed this morning. I'd assume a lot of people trying to get on there. A lot of buzz around SiriusXM with this interview, and it delivered. Shout out to Howard Stern for giving us something to talk about for the next 2 weeks, I think. Yeah. We'll have to dissect that 2 hours, and we got Peter King coming on in the second hour. Peter King was supposed to come to my house and do a sit-down interview with me during training camp. He canceled like 5 minutes after he was supposed to be there. But he got an interview with Chris Ballard instead of me, and now he's writing articles about how Chris Ballard and the Colts are handling this virtual thing. So it actually ended up, it was the right decision for him. For me, I cleaned up the entire house with my lady, set up a thing, did the whole thing, because, I mean, if they're going to put this on, NBC Sports or something, at least like people look at my house and go, damn, a punter has that house? Yeah, that's what I wanted them to do. But instead, we'll get to have our first conversation. He's been breaking a lot of news. We'll talk about the Tom Brady, Howard Stern conversation, obviously. Then we have Roman Harper joining us in about 25 minutes. Can't wait to chat with him, New Orleans Saint. Also, Roll Tide. We'll talk to him about Tua, talk to him about Cam Newton. He played with Cam Newton, talk to him about Drew Brees, and we'll probably talk to him about life. I'm going to be honest. The next 25 minutes until we get to that is probably going to be chatter about this Tom Brady conversation where he talked about Kobe and his friendship with Kobe. I mean, it was awesome. Before we get to it, we have to play our – no, we don't. At Nick Moraldo's here. At Tone Diggs is here. At Ty Schmidt is here. Jason McAfee's here. Viva Lazito's here. Evan Foxy's here. And the person I was definitely not referring to whenever I was talking about people refusing to listen to the greatness that was being dropped by Tom Brady because of their own personal selfish reasons, which, by the way, Tom Brady doesn't seem like a personal selfish person, by the way.
Not at all.
Doesn't. Talked about the team. Loves his sport, loves his game. Somebody that couldn't put all that aside and just listen to greatness. And he's dressed worse than he was yesterday somehow, Boston Connor.
I mean, I respected everything he had to say. It was just, I couldn't believe that he doesn't care about legacy. I mean, that's absurd.
Pump fake. He broke his hammer.
No, I didn't.
And that's why you can't have nice things. He broke a painting, a piece of art out in the basketball court, and now he's breaking a camera.
And one.
Yeah, well, and none. Mute is Mike. Okay, so let's dive into this a little bit. A lot of quotes came out of this conversation I was intrigued by. The Kobe Bryant thing is interesting because he alluded to how he had a friendship with Kobe Bryant. And this is actually what he said to Howard Stern regarding that entire terribly sad situation.
Even, as it relates to Kobe Bryant, like Kobe thought he had a long life too,
Right.
And I mean, nobody loved him. I mean, I loved watching Kobe play. I think in a lot of ways, he and I had the same mentality. And, we had a great connection because of our mindset. And when I look at his life, we all think we're going to live forever.
Right.
But the reality is we don't know when our day is going to come. So I could sit here and go, well, stop playing football so I could, worry about what's going to happen or worry about this or that, instead of saying, why don't I live my life the way that I want and enjoy it, in the ways that are going to be most fulfilling to me, which for me is doing what I love to do. You don't tell a musician stop singing,
right,
at age of 42. You don't tell a great painter stop painting at 42. Now, if you want to stop, go ahead. But for me, because I feel like I can still play doesn't mean I should just stop playing because that's what everyone's telling me to do.
That was in regards to Howard Stern asking him why he didn't just retire. Why did you not sail off into the sunset? Why did you not, after winning 6 Super Bowls, playing for 20 years, having accomplished everything, you're healthy, no CTE, said it seemed like, he said no concussion, not a lot of concussions. Why didn't you just retire? And he basically answered with the Mamba mentality. That's what he did. He was like, well, you don't ask people that are old in these different sports or different works, why don't they retire? And I think that's a beautiful thing. If you read that Players Tribune that Tom Brady wrote the other day on Derek Jeter's thing, because he's living in his house, 30,000 square feet, bad Wi-Fi. You need to get those boosters, Tom. Need to get those boosters. Need to get them boosted. I assume in Boston, in your house in California, you had some super tech person set it up to your standards. Derek Jeter, you see the way he runs a baseball club. He's not up on those little finer details. I mean, he does not have. He's not up on the finer details. We all know that, but because the Zoom crashed, by the way, that's what we are referring to. But he answered with the Mamba mentality about how I love my sport is what he said in the Players Tribune article. He said, I love my sport. I absolutely love it. Earlier in the interview, Howard Stern asked him about why he didn't get into baseball. He was drafted out of high school, obviously, and he said he just loves football. Everything about it. This guy might play for the next 10 years. He might play for the next 10 years. He talked about how in 2000 he started using not our vitamins, but actual vitamins, and he started changing his diet because he said he wasn't born with all the physical traits that you could possibly need to be your best in a sport. He said, I had to figure out what my advantages were going to be. He said he started in vitamins before the vitamin craze happened in 2000. And then obviously he's gone into TB12 treatment. I think he's completely plant-based at this point. He feels as if the food that he puts in his body is a weapon and gives him an advantage over the people that have maybe a better physical composition than him. And I think he might play for another 10 years. I don't know if Tom Brady's ever going to slow down. There was a lot of passion in that interview. Yep. It was a guy that was ready to go. Already moved down to Tampa Bay. I mean, who's moving in the middle of this? Nobody. I'll tell you who's moving in the middle. The people that can just get planes and do it. Yeah. But Tom Brady is moving in the middle. He could have stayed at his house in L.A., I assume. He has a house in Costa Rica, by the way. He has a house in Boston. He mentioned that in the conversation. He said that's where Giselle was before this whole thing started. We've had it for 5 years or so down in Costa Rica. Incredible. Good for you. He's already moved into Tampa. He's already down there. I would assume that's because he wants to get acquainted with everything down there. Now, granted, you're in quarantine. You can't really do much, but I assume he can go over. No, the facilities are closed. I don't know why he's down there. Maybe the coaches come over to his house. Something there has to be a reason he's getting down there and getting acclimated. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers more right now, and I haven't heard the last 20 minutes of that conversation where I would assume they dig into his mindset a little bit more in his current state. I can't wait to hear that. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers more right now than I did before that interview, and I cannot wait to watch the Bucs in their new uniforms that look exactly the same as their old uniforms. Not just these bad uniforms. I wonder if Bruce Arians saw those uniforms when he got down there last year. He was like, can we change these damn numbers? One more year, we're doing it next year. And when we bring Tom Brady down here, we're going to do the same thing. He said that there was a lot of teams interested in him, by the way. And out of respect for their privacy, he's not going to say anything. Now, it had come out that the Colts were not, though. That was a team that was not interested in him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Titans weren't, right, because they signed Tannehill to a bigger deal. Yep. Obviously, the Niners weren't because they decided not to make a play for him with Jimmy G. So there was some and he said the Raiders didn't seem that interested in signing. So you can take all the teams out that we potentially thought were going to be interested, and now it's time to start guessing. That's what we'll probably do tomorrow. I mean, just to be honest, it's probably what we're going to do tomorrow. What teams have an established starting quarterback right now that you think potentially reached out and say, hey, what are we thinking? What are we thinking? I'm sure there was numerous, and that's why he said, out of respect for their privacy, I'm not going to say anything. There had to be some teams in there.
Bears.
Sure.
When I heard that, I just assumed that Jerry Jones and him had talked. Like the Cowboys had made some sort of play for him.
What are we thinking, Tom? You see my living room here? You see my Zoom? They just put it up on social media the other day. Everybody loves it. What are you thinking? That was an awesome interview. That was an awesome conversation. A lot to digest, but we got to get to a break. 12 minutes after the hour. Man, I wish. Can you just, I don't know what's couth in radio. If we just give courtesy and just play his show. I assume we get shut down. We are on Sirius.
Yeah.
We are on Sirius. Mm-hmm. But we're also on the FCC. Tom and Howard were both getting a little loose with the language. Mm-hmm. Refreshing to hear Tom Brady swear, by the way.
Yes.
If somebody doesn't swear whenever I'm talking to him, I don't trust them. I can't trust them. Now, granted, there's some people who are like super religious. Like Tim Tebow's never going to swear. I assume Phillip Rivers is never going to swear. But if somebody has sworn before and you're in a deep conversation with them and they don't swear to you, they don't trust you and you're not having a real conversation with them. Just a little tip that I've picked up through my days, especially as somebody who swears.
And it's weird hearing him say it, even though like you've seen him mouth F-bombs.
Let's
go! Exactly. But it's still just like, it's nice to know that he's not just a robot and that he's like an actual human being.
By the way, his dad was going to be a priest. That's why he didn't smoke all the weed, just some of the weed in high school. We're back on the other side. It's the Pat McAfee Show. This offseason, everybody was talking about where Tom Brady was potentially going to end up at. It was the Raiders. It was the Chargers. It was the Niners. It was all these teams. It was come out now that the Colts were a place that Tom Brady's camp wanted to go. The Colts chose Phillip Rivers over Tom Brady. I mean, if you really look at it, that is kind of what Peter King laid out in his blog. Is the Colts chose Phillip Rivers over Tom Brady. Why do you think they did that, especially being somebody who's so close to Phillip Rivers? And do you think that is ultimately going to be the right move in the end with Phil Rivers and the Colts?
Yes, because they're seeing this. The Colts are seeing the same thing that I've been saying the past few months. But everybody kind of pinned me as this Patriots hater, which I am, and I'm glad and proud of it. But at the same time, I'm just saying the truth. Right now, their stage of their careers, Phillip Rivers is a much better quarterback than Tom Brady physically. And I believe that he can go out and outperform Tom Brady right now in this stage of career. A lot of people you stick Tom Brady's name up there and you talk about just all these Super Bowls. I get it and I understand, but right now in their stage of career, somebody asked me, and I'm not saying this because I played with Phillip and I have a relationship with him. I'm saying it because if I'm looking at two quarterbacks that I want the team to bring in, I'm saying, oh my God, I want Phil because I know that Phil can play physically better at a high level for the next couple of years. Tom Brady might be, make smarter decisions. Tom Brady might do a couple other things better, but as far as physically to go out and compete as a quarterback, Phillip Rivers is a better quarterback than Tom Brady, and that's why the Colts were higher on Phillip than they were on Tom.
Let's get it. Let's go. Dream house. house is a tour bus. Scream loud that you knew us. Deep down, I'm the new plug. You ain't about to get too dust. Pete's frown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the two subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Lead the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body. 210s, both sitting shoddy. Crack a fist, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is 30? Hand me a napkin. You probably wasn't expecting this. What?
One fucking page.
I don't have to worry about the coronavirus anymore.
Like a fucking bomb went off. It's like,
Dude, I saw there's the fucking net. Oh, dude, what's going on?
Everyone's a comedian, all right? Steve Jobs used to dip his feet in toilet water randomly.
I bet they still smelled better than yours. Yours are a woman?
I
Are
can
you? You're
see
dating?
Tony's brain cells just exploding into thin air.
Do you think that steer ever looks back at you and goes, son of a
Is that when you
bitch,
tie
you
the
got
legs?
big one.
I'm sold. I'm in. He got me.
Suck it. Oh, guys.
Jame duty match.
These guys got in there, undid their suitcases, just dumped all their clothes. Well, you have to remember.
Oh, yeah, not for me.
Jeez, son of a bitch, can I not get the alcoholic cowboys?
And, babe, it's time to go to war.
Welcome to the pod.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. 10:18 here on the East Coast, 7:18 on the West Coast, which, by the way, is where Tom Brady's originally from.
Oh, yeah.
Dana White was on with Greeny while the Howard Stern Tom Brady conversation was happening. So I would say less than 100 people heard that interview. We have two people in this room that heard it because, and I kind of feel like I forced Connor to stop making noise in the middle of the Tom Brady Howard Stern. He loves his dad. That's what Connor was saying during this entire Howard Stern Tom. He loves his kids.
He cried?
Team guy, huh?
Yeah.
The guy took a pay cut for 20 years. Oh, that guy.
Now I want $30 million.
Yeah, that was what you were saying. So I was like, somebody has to go listen to this Dana White Greeny. So we shipped Connor off to do it. And also Ty listened, because Ty has this incredible ability to listen to multiple things at the same time and not skip a beat, by the way. He's like a guy that reads a book that skips lines in the book and just can pick it up. And that's why he was accepted to Harvard. But ultimately, the reason why he's working for us, because he turned that down to go to Iowa. So that's
great school.
That's kind of, I feel like I kind of wrapped the entire Ty Schmidt brain up into one thing there. But there was nothing said in that interview, right?
No, not really. I mean,
You think Dana was pissed? You think Dana was pissed that he was scheduled to do that conversation in the middle of the Tom Brady Howard Stern?
possibly.
Is that what it felt like and sounded like?
It looked like he's very tired of getting asked the same questions about this and like taking it on the shins for like, well, what about like these medical professionals who say they're being pulled away? His basically what he always came back to was, this fight is happening. It's going to be on ESPN. Don't ask me where the island is. I'm not going to tell you. Don't ask me about all the political stuff. Don't want to get into it. It's a waste of time. It basically just came back to, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's happening on April 18th somewhere.
Hardest thing ever. This guy, people do not appreciate Dana White enough, I don't think. Dude was homeless at one point, right?
Yeah, I lived in his car.
Whitey was after him.
Whitey Bulger wanted him at some point. Then he goes, he's training people. He becomes friends with the Fertitta brothers or whatever. He tells them, hey, I got an idea. They probably weren't in on it at the beginning because it was $1 million investment. He's like, I got an idea. Come on, let's do it. They buy UFC for $1 million. Now it sells for what? $2.5 billion or something like that. Now he just has hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's still, by the way, working every single day at this point. Just like what Howard Stern said to Tom Brady. You've got 6 Super Bowls. You've done this for 20 years. You're filthy rich. You've accomplished everything. Why are you still doing it? And Tom's like, well, you don't question musicians and this thing. I just love what I do. Dana White feels like a guy that absolutely loves mixed martial arts, and he has a good business mind, and he's a savage. Dana White is a savage. It does not matter who you are. Mike Greenberg's in 2 Hall of Fames. Greeny was trying to get some real information out of him. In a couple of clips that both you and Connor sent over, he was just like, nah.
Stonewalled him big time.
Greeny, like I wish in his head he was saying, I appreciate what you're doing and I respect you, but nah. I'm worth a couple $100 million. This business is worth $2.5 billion.
After UFC sold, though, did he have to stay contracted?
Yeah, I think they contracted him to remain at president. Right?
I mean, it's his life. I don't think he wanted to.
I don't know. Do you think there was written in there like, hey, when WME buys it, we want Dana White in his office 8 hours a day? Do you think that was something in there? And Dana White probably saw how many hundreds of millions he was going to get. And I was like, yeah, I'll go sit in my office for 8 hours. I wonder what the extent of it is and how long he'll go for. But I just love how savage he is.
And he did say what you've been echoing is he feels a responsibility right now that people need some form of entertainment, otherwise they're gonna go crazy.
People love that MMA. If you're in the UFC, you love the UFC. I'll take shots at you. By the way, I've probably watched the same amount of pay-per-view fights. I don't watch the week-to-week stuff, and I don't watch behind-the-scenes stuff. But if I hear a fight's happening and it shows, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna go ahead and get this and watch this. And Conor McGregor brought me into it a little bit more because he was just an electric factory. I mean, listening to a little Irish guy just talk about how he's gonna kill people.
Red panties out.
Yeah, right. You tell your wife you hit the lottery, you get the red panties, and when he's stealing people's belts. I mean, I've been a lifelong WWE fan, so whenever that started happening, I'm like, all right, here we go. And then once you start meeting them, I mean, you meet like Matreon and Lytle and these professional fighters. I got a chance to meet that guy in Ohio. He was
Stipe Miocic.
Yeah, Stipe. I got to meet him. All of them, super cool dudes. They're like calculated guys. It's really like I don't want to say it's chess, though. It really is with this brutality. So once you start to appreciate that I can understand how people go all in with this. For me, not only is that the case, but this is classic 1400s, 1300s. 2 humans go inside of a cage here and just try to kill each other. I just, for some reason, I can never do it. I can never in a million years do it. But whenever I hear that 2 humans in 2020 are going to do that, I just, for some reason, go, yeah, I'm going to watch 2 humans attempt to kill each other in a cage, and it's going to be awesome. So I can understand that Dana White says that people that are diehards, they deserve a little bit of a break and a relief during this incredibly trying time, and he probably feels a responsibility to them. By the way, just like they have helped him become where he is, he probably feels a responsibility to pay them back, and I can respect that.
And he did mention that the UFC is one of the sports where he doesn't think it's really affected by fans not being there, because then you actually get to hear all the smack that the fighters are talking, and
whoa. He was not budging, though. I mean, Greeny asked him, hey, there's been rumors about, you fighting on a possible tribal land in California. Can you speak on that? And Dana White just responded, ESPN. It's on ESPN.
The fight is on ESPN. Yeah. That's where it's at, Greeny. All right, just get back to your little questions. Get back. I got 5 minutes. I'm missing this Tom Brady, Howard Stern interview already. I love it. I like the Greeny you went for it, though.
Yeah. Gotta.
Why not tell us where it's happening?
Well, I would assume that at some point this could potentially cause a PR issue for old Dana White. Yeah. Because if it is on tribal lands, I would assume that, so this guy is going around laws to make sure that, you know what I mean? There's just always something to happen. But he is a savage, so why would he care if anybody's...
He's already made his money, so...
He probably just doesn't want the word out.
Well, he doesn't want the
someone will try and shut it down.
Yeah. I asked the boys this yesterday, so this is something we won't be able to gamble on? Is that true?
Well, that's what
we have to gamble
I
on.
don't know, because... Maybe the one in the U.S., but the international ones aren't sanctioned by state gaming commissions, so I don't know.
Because nowadays, whenever there was the offshore betting sites, everybody worked with one and gambled with one at some point. If you're a sports gambler, you could put up prop bets up there for anything. I mean, we did a Beat Pat McAfee series where we had humans gambling on me bowling, me shooting NBA threes, me playing Chuck E. Cheese
skee ball.
I mean, we were able to set lines on anything. I mean, I was told, and I feel like I have pretty good There was like $70,000 being bet on me rolling over a 130 or not in my first game. We would go live. By the way, 177, best game I've ever had in my entire life. I think I had 5 straight strikes at one point. There was a thought I was going to get a 300. I mean, it was the best. It was lights out, but it was like there was $70,000 gambled on that. The NBA thing, I think there was like 25, something like that. Nowadays, and I don't want to say those were the good old days, but now that it's become like a much more mainstream thing, it's becoming legalized. There's obviously regulations because I could have thrown every one of those things.
Oh, yeah.
I could have thrown every single one of those events if I wanted to. If I just wanted to roll the one, I could have done that. And everybody that bet on the under. That's why it's hard to get the people to place bets on the national anthem for the Super Bowl, even though it's such a highly talked about thing. It's hard to get regulators to okay that because Demi Lovato could have controlled that completely. Anything that is controllable or throwable and it doesn't have regulations on it, the regulators can't pass it now that it is legalized in America. So those old days of being able to make prop bets on everything, you just can't do it anymore because it's a much more regulated business, which, by the way, people are getting paid on time. The bets are actually getting put through. I mean, there's like an entire thing. It's getting better in a lot of ways, but in those ways where you can just throw bets up there without it being regulated, those days are far behind us, I think.
As far as the international UFC goes, it might be because I know the Nevada Gaming Commission just put through like the iRacing. You could bet on the iRacing legally now in Nevada and stuff like that. And then West Virginia, for the first time legally, you could bet on politics now, like stuff like so. Like things I think
it got shut down though, didn't it?
Oh no.
Yeah, I think it was up and then it got shut down.
Like in the last couple hours?
I thought this morning I woke up and it was shut down. But I mean, I was intrigued by it. My morning grumpy, that was something I was excited to read about. Mm-hmm. And then obviously I got distracted. I didn't read all, but I thought it got shut down. But if they're still gambling on politics, that's awesome. That's actually how FanDuel started, by the way. FanDuel started in Scotland, I believe, or Ireland. Scotland. And I think it was originally called, Paddy Power is the original, or whatever it was. But you could pick, it was for fans to pick who they think which politician was going to win elections. And then obviously it transitioned into the daily fantasy, and then now it's transitioning into a sports book and fantasy and daily, everything like that. So, I mean, that's awesome if we could start betting on politicians, because I'll tell you what, this office, we are known for knowing the upsets in politics.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We met old Mexico Joe on a plane. Knew he was going down. Joe Donnelly had no shot.
He didn't deserve that.
$70 million in ads being run against him in Indiana.
Yikes.
It was every commercial for like 3 weeks, just how bad of a guy he was. It was like,
Sleeping Joe.
I don't know if old Sleeping Mexico Joe knows that he is getting buzzsawed right now. And he would eventually lose, and it was big breaking news on the election night. Then we finally meet Joe Donnelly, and he had no idea who I was. And that's potentially why he also lost as well. But in Indiana, I mean, come on, Joe, come on. I hope we can bet on those fights, though. I'm getting a real itch.
Need it.
We got to get to a break. Roman Harper's on the other side. Cannot wait to talk to this guy. I wonder if he listened to the Tom Brady interview. Roman Harper played a long time. Mm-hmm. Very good at the football. I feel like I want to ask him about Tom Brady interview.
You had to listen to it.
Had to have. The only person that didn't listen to it, what? Dana White.
Pretty much.
Dana White and Greeny.
Yeah.
And Greeny probably had it.
I was about to say, Greeny, by the way, is so good. He probably could have had it in there while hosting the show. That's how good Greeny is. He probably did have that going on. Good for Sirius. Good for Howard. Good for Tom. Great for us, too, giving us something to talk about. We're back on the other side with Roman Harper. YouTube questions during the break. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Every once in a while, we like to dive deep into the most beautiful part of the internet, the YouTube comment section, for some YouTube questions.
YouTube questions.
Nailed it, Z. What do we got?
Here's a little late one right here. If you could pick any 3 people to chill and take all the vitamins with, who you got?
Jesus.
B Jammin', by the way.
Okay, thanks, B Jammin'. 3 people in the entire world, dead or alive. You think, Zito? What do you think B Jammin' meant? Dead or alive?
Let's go dead or alive. That'd be a lot more to choose from.
Both. Okay, I'm going. Steve Jobs is sitting seat A1 here to my right. Okay, this is my guy. He's going to be passing it to me, by the way. Hopefully, whatever, he can maybe rub something off and give it to me. That'd be great. Terrible dad. One of the worst dads in documented history.
Damn it, Lisa.
Yeah, one of the worst dads in documented history. Incredibly innovative man, though, who, obviously changed the world immensely.
Music.
He is everything. He's literally changed everything. The difference between people hitting the gas at a green light has changed because of Steve Jobs. It went from being immediately get the fuck out of the way to maybe 15, 20 seconds when that green light turns. And by the way, the people behind them back in the day used to know immediately upon green light hitting, let's go. Now they're even catching up and they're like, damn. And it's not a beep until like 10 seconds. So I think Steve Jobs has affected not only everybody's day to day, their source of getting information and the way people used to lie in the past. I mean, people used to just lie all the time. They would just give answers that were completely false and just fucking walk it off. Now Apple has obviously changed that game quite a bit. I think you have to put Snoop Dogg across the table. Right, you have to have Snoop Dogg in there because that's just legendary OG smoker. I would have put Willie Nelson, but I listened to an hour-long interview with Willie Nelson. He's 85 right now. He didn't give a lot of answers. He's still a legend, but that's not the guy that I want at my table. So I'm taking Snoop Dogg out of the OG smokers between Willie and Snoop. I want him there. And then to my left, I think I'm putting Tom Brady there. I think I'm putting Tom Brady right to my left. I'm gonna say, hey, Tom, you remember your freshman, sophomore year of high school whenever you're smoking the dope, and then you know how you stopped smoking because you wanted to focus on sports and stuff like that, and you felt bad because your dad was a priest at one point, but you're in high school, you had to try it. Let's get back to those days. Let's have a conversation. By the way, I'd like a sky cam on this thing, 4 solo shots and a group shot, and I would make this a piece of content. And I honestly believe me, Steve Jobs, Snoop Dogg, and Tom Brady would potentially be the most electrifying smokers table in the history.
Brady takes one toke out of that, Jay. You know it. He's silent for the next 2 hours.
He's
not saying a word.
Nah, because I'll be prodding him. I'll be probably, hey, wakey, pal. Here's some sativa. Get back in the game.
All right.
So that's what I would pick. Great question, though. And that's why the YouTube comments are the absolute best. And that's why every once in a while we have to do YouTube questions.
YouTube questions.
With all the uncertainty in the world, feeling safe at home has never been more important. That's why I want to talk to you about Simply Safe Home Security. They're longtime friends of the Pat McAfee Show, and for good reason. Simply Safe has made it easy to finally get comprehensive protection for your home. There's no technician or salesperson that needs to come and disrupt your house. You don't need to pay any outrageous monthly fees or sign a 2-year contract. You just order online, set it up yourself in under an hour, and your home is protected 24/7 with emergency dispatch for break-ins, fire, and more. All for just 50 cents a day.
What?
And we're not the only fans of Simply Safe.
Man,
U.S. News and
dropped
World
the ball.
Report named Simply Safe Best Overall Home Security of 2020. Right now, when you head to simplysafepat.com, our listeners will get free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. That's simplysafepat.com to make sure they know that our show sent you. From Simply Safe and all of us here, wishing you safety and good health.
Hey, little boy, Simply Safe and Ty. Yeah. During the break in the YouTube comment section, we do YouTube question. I was asked, which 3 people would I like to smoke, dead or alive? I went with, obviously, Steve Jobs to my right, Snoop Dogg across the table from me, and Tom Brady to my left, strictly because I just heard Tom smoked when he was a freshman in high school, and I would like to get that information. I missed out on Elon Musk and Rogan. Yeah. Elon Musk, obviously, is somebody I'd like to talk to because he's an alien. You know what I mean? Joining us now, let me pivot. A guy that played in the NFL for 11 years, Super Bowl champ, 2-time Pro Bowler, absolute stud, roll tide, Roman Harper. Yeah, boy, Roman.
Appreciate it, Phil. Hey, and Pat, man, you're not just going to skip over that, bro. If you got a crew like that puffing one up, bro, you got to put me down. Just let me know.
I didn't know you were into the vitamins, Roman.
With that group, how can you say no?
I agree, man. Steve Jobs, he's a terrible dad, but I got questions. Obviously, I got questions. Snoop, I had to choose between either Snoop or Willie. I went with Snoop strictly because Willie's 85. I'm not sure how active he would be in the conversation.
Right.
And then Tom, did you hear his interview this morning with Howard Stern?
No.
Oh, you got to listen. This is the first time Tom's ever opened up like this. I heard him swear. He talked about penises. I mean, Tom Brady was wide open. Roman, let's talk about you, though, man. You got a chance to play with a lot of great football players. You were a great football player. What do you think separates the great from the good? And do you think there are things that are telling about somebody going into this draft process that's like, you know what, this guy is potentially going to be great, or this guy has a chance of maybe be not so good?
I think the real determining factor that separates all those guys, because we all know at the NFL, talent is in abundance, right? Talent, everybody has that. But what really separates the guys is really the time on task, the work ethic, and really who they are on the inside. Some things that you really can't measure. Like, you don't know that much about that person until you actually see them go to work every day. You see them do the little things in and out every day, the things that seem simple to them. I mean, they put work in it every day, and they're working on the things that they're not good at, and they're also mastering the talents that they were blessed with every day.
So that's basically, Tom said that as well. Do you think it's a big deal that a lot of these GMs and scouts, I mean, granted, they saw him at the Combine, but everybody knows the Combine is just a fake conversation. Right now, these guys can't meet with a lot of these people that are potential draft prospects, people that they're potentially going to invest millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in, and bring into their culture. Do you think that's a much bigger deal than what a lot of people are talking about right now?
I think so, because especially like when you get in you're going to have some first round busts. That's just normal. But when you get to that second, third, fourth round guy where you normally would, hey, this is a good guy. All right. He's a good personality guy. He's a good, coaches love him. He's a great personality. He's going to be a great fit for this locker room. You're not going to know that, right? You're only going to have to be able to go off of the things that you heard from their college scouts or their college teammates or other coaches, where most of the time they don't really shoot you 100% straight. So you're really going to depend on your own scouting staff a lot, of all the research that they did on the back half and the early stages of the whole scouting process, and really just have to go from there. But you're going to have a lot of guys that probably are going to miss on some things, and you're not going to know personality-wise, or they're going to be a great fit in your locker room. I think that's really what's going to kind of separate things. And we all know at the end of the day, teams that win long-term for 8 years in a row or things like that, it's all about the mesh of the team and in the locker room. Like, that is where you win at so often, and not really all the talent and how many people you draft. It's all about the locker room fit.
I was on a team that went undefeated until we chose to lose, and we lost to the Saints, obviously. And then a couple years later, is that funny? Hey, mute him. Can we mute? And then I was on a team a couple years later that was completely defeated, right? And then I feel like are almost completely defeated. I feel like I've been very fortunate enough to realize and see the differences in a incredibly run team and then a team that was like kind of figuring it out. That camaraderie is the biggest X factor. Those teams that are great love each other. They absolutely love each other, which brings me to this point. Everybody that's ever played with Tua has said he's a great leader. He's loved in the locker room. Same thing with Joe Burrow, by the way. Joe Burrow goes down to LSU. He's beloved in that locker room. The conversation now is all pivoting around the fact, would you rather take Tua or Air Bear? Because everybody thinks the Dolphins are going to take either Tua or Air Bear at 5. As a Roll Tide guy, I have assumed you've heard incredible stories about Tua. It's unfortunate the amount of injuries he's had, obviously, but that Tua to a T video that he put out the other night showing that he's gone through a tornado in Nashville. He had a surgery. He's rehabbing now, the coronavirus quarantine. It feels like Tua is stacking up for a potential big-time revenge. Am I inaccurate in saying that? And would you bank on Tua being your guy?
I would definitely bank on Tua being my guy. Look, I got a short story about Tua. Look, I'd never met the kid, and then I was in South Carolina this year when they played in South Carolina. I was in the locker room after the game, and he comes up and talks to me, and it's like, man, I know so much about you, and just completely opens up. And I'm just like, dude, you're the one I'm supposed to come talk to you and introduce you. I've been out of this locker room for 14, 15 years. There's no way you should know who I am. But he's a humble kid, man, and he comes from humble beginnings, and all he's ever done has been successful everywhere he's been. And this guy can flat out throw the ball. I would like to, and I'm going to go away from all the Alabama stuff. Look, just flat out, which quarterback is going into games and won the game by throwing the football? That's Tua. Herbert's never really won a game by throwing the football. Last year in the biggest game of the Rose Bowl, he won it by his legs. He wasn't great throwing the ball. I've never really seen him. The best game he actually threw the ball was against Washington, and I was actually at that game because I was visiting my brother and some friends in Seattle. And, so that was his best game. But overall, besides that, I want to see his best game against the best competition and him really light it up. And I think Tua has done that more often. And you're not going to all of a sudden show up in the NFL and still be able to run the ball as a quarterback unless you're Lamar Jackson, which he still had the offense. Everything built around his skill set was what made him successful. It's not just that he's athletic and can run, but everything around him was built to give him success. And are they going to do the same thing with Herbert coming in, right? Are they going to build a whole offense just around him? Where in Oregon, they still ran the ball predominantly and then passed the ball off of play action, some straight drop back and some other things, but mostly using his legs and his athletic ability.
Well, you're 100% right with the Lamar Jackson Baltimore Raven offense because he had some success in his first year there playing, but they went all in with him. 3 tight end sets, bringing in they went all in on the mindset. And by the way, it paid off for him last year. I think Marshall Yonder retiring, I've said this on numerous occasions, is going to be a tough spot to fill. That guy is an absolute mauler, and they cut up a highlight reel of an offensive lineman when he retired. And by the way, there was only, I think, like 15 to 20 touchdowns that were just, let's go right behind Marshall Yonda. I mean, it was just, that'll be intriguing to watch. And you're thinking Air Bear, they're going to have to do the same for him to have success. And with Tua, everybody says the number one quality a quarterback can have is accuracy. It felt like Tua was one of the most accurate quarterbacks I'd ever seen come through college football.
I agree. And not only that, but if you look at the little things, like everybody wants to talk about Alabama's great receiving corps they had the last 2 years, which they really have. That's undeniable. But did you ever see a receiver work hard for a pass? Like, he was throwing them open all the time. Now, I know the guys are getting open, but they were never diving for balls. They were never like jumping all crazy or high. It was right in the catching point, right in the basket, and they were able to catch and run. It wasn't like they were diving, having to slide and make a tough catch. No, these guys are catching and running with the ball afterwards and really showcasing their talent. So I think when you take all that into credit, he throws one of the prettiest balls I've ever seen, probably the best deep ball I've seen out of a college quarterback. And the numbers they speak for themselves. I don't have to continue to defend all this guy that Tua has done. I don't think he's going to get past number 3 in the draft. I'm just being honest with you.
Lions.
I think he's a lock at 3. At the latest, somebody's going to come up and get him because you're not going to fool around and think you're going to wait till number 5 if you're the Dolphins and 2 is your guy. I think Herbert will be there at 5. I don't think Tua will be there at 5.
Do the injuries, which are noted, and 4 surgeries in a couple years, is a tough look, especially when you're in Alabama and you have a great offensive line and you got all the weapons around you. People say, if you can't stay healthy in that particular environment, how will you stay healthy in a 22-game season? How will you stay healthy in an 18-game season, a 16-game season with grown men who are trying to feed their families coming out? Does that worry you at all, or do you think this is just something he got unlucky in a lot of situations, or were the surgeries not necessarily necessary?
Yes.
That I think a couple of those ankle surgeries weren't necessarily necessary. They just said, hey, we can do this, get you fixed, and have you back. Do you want to do it? Is that how you feel too?
Yes, that is the Alabama thing. Like they just started that like 3 years ago, and Tua just happens to be a product of that because he had 2 high ankle sprains, and that was a new thing that they started doing there. That if we get a high ankle sprain guy, we're going to have this surgery and it heals him up faster, and we get him back in 2 to 3 weeks instead of 4 to 5 weeks. So I definitely think that was 2 of his surgeries right there. 2 out of the 3 that we're talking about was because of that. The hip injury is just a freak accident. Nobody saw that coming when the guy lands on you, and at the end of the day, Two, you have to learn how to protect yourself. Understand that you are a value to this team, and that it's okay that you're not going to make every play, every throw is not going to be perfect. And sometimes you got to be able to live to fight another day. I think with the right coaching staff, the right person in his ear, and even the right veteran quarterback presence, right, that's been in the pocket, that's been in a lot of wars, that knows when to tuck and throw it or spin, slide, get out of the way, and get rid of this thing. And hey, in the next series, trust your defense, and we'll get back out there and able to score again.
Some like T.Y. Hilton, I watched T.Y. Hilton do this, and Reggie Wayne did this, and Marvin Harrison did this.
Oh yeah, they all slide and get out of the way. They just get the first down and get down.
And by the way, in the first couple times they do it, they are mocked. They are told that they're weak, they're soft, they're not giving it their all for their team. And then you see them start playing for like an entire season. It's like, oh, this guy, instead of getting an extra yard and a half, he decided he wants to play next week. That seems to be a smart decision there. That seems like a smart. Who do you?
Here's another guy, Greg Olsen. With all due respect, start doing that later in his career as well. Just get the first down. He doesn't even care about the yak. Early you want to be hard and you want to break tackles. Everybody wanted to be the Jeremy Shockey, gets the helmet knocked off, run the extra 20 yards. I mean, it's hype, it's cool, but after so long, I'm fine.
Who do you think trades up to get Tua? The Chargers look like that'd be a great place. I mean, they need a franchise. Now, granted, Tom Telesco was on Get Up yesterday with Greeny, and he said Tyrod Taylor's our guy. We're moving forward with him. But that type of star power with Tua could be good for a team that we've been saying, and everybody's been saying, they're going to have to sell some tickets at some point. I mean, at some point, you got to get a franchise guy. Or do you think they're going to make a move, or who do you think it would possibly be?
It's got to be the Dolphins or the Chargers. My surprise pick is the Patriots because I always think they're up to something that nobody ever knows about. So,
God. Could you fathom that? He would be so good, too. And to get the ball out of his hands so quick. Oh, my.
To me, that is my take on it. It's going to be the Dolphins, the Chargers, or the Patriots. The Patriots are always up to something that nobody ever knows about. And they always come up with the right move at the right time.
And they don't have to pay him because they already got that allotted for it because the rookie contract's already allotted for the salary cap. You got that old man who's playing for free next year. Who's that, Hoyer?
Yeah.
Oh, my. Another quarterback that's out there that hasn't found a home that I'm surprised by that the Chargers didn't go get is a guy that you were teammates with, Cam Newton. How do you feel about what do you think? I think Cam Newton is about to really dominate somewhere, but it seems like there's potentially no suitors for the guy. What the hell's going on there?
I think it's a bad timing thing, right? Like, if everybody would have known that Cam Newton was going to be a free agent when the market opened up, I think he's gone first day, right? But the fact that nobody knew, Carolina was like, oh, he's going to be our quarterback, and then on a random Tuesday, they signed Teddy Bridgewater on like the second day of free agency. Everybody's like, whoa. Now, next you know, oh, Cam Newton, you can go seek a trade. Well, everybody knows there's no trade value because they're not going to give up anything that, you're not going to keep both of these guys. We know you're going to release them in another week. And now everybody signed their quarterback. We know that Miami wants to go young. They're going to draft. Chargers, they're definitely going to draft a quarterback. And they have Tyrod Taylor, who they're saying they're going to be. So where's the fit? Like, who else needs a quarterback? Cincinnati has Andy Dalton just sitting over there, but we all know they're going to take Joe Burrow. So what is the fit? I'm looking forward to what Cam's going to do. I think this is an uncomfortable position for Cam. But I think just like Cam done is every part of his life, he's always just kind of figured it out and became a star, just like everything else. And I think at some point he's probably going to maybe have to take up a role as a backup guy like Tannehill did, knowing that, hey, I'm coming in here to compete. And eventually, but it's going to take a really strong locker room, too. Like, who's going to be able to take a locker room on with Cam Newton as, like, possible the backup quarterback or the guy in waiting, right? Yeah, like, who's going to be the starting quarterback that's comfortable with that, right?
Yeah,
so that's another conversation because the backup quarterback's probably going to get more interview opportunities and is going to dress better than the starting quarterback. He's going to be bigger, stronger arm, all these other things. Like, that's a really tough spot to be for a team to bring in somebody as well. So I think that's also playing a part of it as well. Is like, how can we take this on and not look and still look like we're confident in the guy that we have, but we're going to bring in Cam Newton anyways.
And this is not Cam Newton is nothing like Tim Tebow. And Tim Tebow is nothing like Colin Kaepernick. But this is the conversation that was happening about all of them. Your backup quarterback can't be a massive distraction for your team because the quarterback room, the quarterback position is a big deal. If you have somebody in that room that's a distraction to your team, whether it's Tim, Colin, and Cam Newton, they might say it because he's a massive personality and very good at football, very good at football. I mean, that'll be a potential distraction that you could see how teams would be like, we can't put ourselves in that situation. Last thing before we let you go here, and I can't thank you enough for your time. You're always great on this show, by the way, bro. I appreciate it.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it, Pat. Real talk, bro.
No problem. Do you have that thing that I see on the internet? It's like this hat that you put on, and then it's a wire that you strap to a wall, and then you work out your neck. You look like you could headbutt a wall right now. If you had. What do you? I mean, you look. You are you could still. I think you could play the XFL if you wanted to.
I appreciate that because it wasn't going to be the NFL. Thank you for that.
No, XFL, maybe. I didn't want secondary. I mean, that's tough. That's tough.
Appreciate it, Doc. Thank you. I would definitely say, man, I've always just all of a sudden out of nowhere, I got this really big neck in college, dude. I don't know. It hasn't gone anywhere. My head is kind of skinny too, so that's another thing that really just really overplays it. So it's kind of what it is. But I'll take the compliment.
See, I have such a big. brain.
Somebody started internet like a website like Roman Harper's neck, like back in the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us today with a great conversation, Roman Harper and his neck. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it, Pat, man. Roll Tide, baby.
Hey, have a good one, dude. He's like
y'all be good.
Yeah, you too, Roman. He's like a college football expert, by the way. Mm-hmm. I remember that the last time we had him on, out of nowhere, he started breaking down all the colleges. I was like, damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I was excited to hear his take on Tua. And as I was asking him his question, by the way, I was trying to figure out what the surgeries were, and I remembered 2 sprained ankle surgeries. And I was like, wait, are those even necessary surgeries? I guess Alabama, though, whenever you probably make $100 million for your school and you have to say that you didn't make any money, you probably hire like the greatest specialist. You get an ankle specialist in there. I think James Andrews works for him too down there. You get an ankle specialist in there like, hey, we've learned with a sprained ankle, if you just go in there and just like snip this one thing, the sprained ankle will heal quicker. He's like, Saban's like, well, the hell with it. Stop asking. Just do it. And that's 2 of his surgeries there. I mean, the thought that the Patriots could go up and get Tua. They have the picks to do it, too.
Belichick and Saban, too.
And Patricia's there, right? Matt Patricia's
They're
there.
going to trade with the Lions. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. I already see it coming.
Isaiah Simmons will be on the board at that point. Okuda's on the board at that point. Tua's on the board at that point. I mean, there's a lot of players on the board at that point. And the Lions will be like, nah, we'll just take a couple 4th-rounders.
I want the 23rd pick,
but
not the 3rd.
Patricia knows he needs help right now, though. He can't trade back to in the 20s where the Patriots are.
Yeah, 23.
Or he's gonna get fired.
He didn't, the Lions. But he didn't get fired, and he knows it.
One more bad year, though.
He has a job open though.
Yeah, but where's he going back to? The place that he just got to it to.
Sabotage.
Oh, no.
Saboteur.
Is little young Belichick, though, going to take over the defense? Does Matt Patricia have a job there, or will he just be an advisor getting a paycheck from Detroit while he's in? Oh, no.
Yeah, that might happen. Big Steve Belichick. I mean, he's primed for a defensive coordinator gig with the Pats.
Frank and Steve.
Bro, it's going to happen, isn't it?
It's going to happen.
Saban definitely is letting Belichick know, like, hey, this is the guy.
Oh, my.
Like, he probably sent a few texts, few calls.
So Belichick's just out there zooming with that FIU quarterback every day. So people start thinking that he's on that. And Belichick's, they don't even know. I'm trying to tell her keep putting those videos out so we can watch them film them. We got no money, but we do have an offense that could run with Tua. And here's video of Tom Brady falling before anybody hit him. You will never get another surgery again. Damn it, it's going to happen. I can already tell. We got Peter King coming in the second hour. We'll ask him about that. We'll ask him about Tom Brady conversation and all things happening in the world of the NFL. I can't thank you enough for watching and listening wherever you are. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Hour 2 is on the other side. Dana White says, here's a little optimism. As of next week, we are going to be back full-time running fights week in, week out. We have a venue that we've been securing for the last couple weeks. That's where the Americans will fight at. There will be no crowd. Come in get tested. Let the two human cockfighters get in there and battle it out for the world's entertainment. And international fighters, don't you worry about that. I figured that out as well. I got a private island. I've secured. We're going to have private planes since I can't get them into America. I asked the president. I already asked, can we get them into America? Can't have you flying them into America. All right. Well, what about a private island? You can, if you would like to buy a private island and call it Dana White UFC land, you can fly them into there. He says he's going to get a private plane to these private islands, and he's going to let the international fights happen there. The American fights happen in a venue that he has. Here's an interview that he did, I think, just yesterday. And boy, I think the UFC is going to be back up and running. And this is straight out of billionaire dreams club world. I'm going to get a private island. I'm going to build my own venue. Going to have humans fight in them. No big deal.
I have this venue for 2 months. I'm setting up shop here.
No big deal.
We're going to be pumping out fights every week.
Wow. Humans in, humans out.
I'm a day or two away from securing a private island. I have a private island that I've secured. We're getting the infrastructure put in now. So I'm going to start doing the international fights, too, with international fighters.
I love this, man.
Because I won't be able to get international fighters, all of them into the U.S.
Obviously.
So I have a private island. I'm going to start flying them all into the private island and doing international fights from there.
Don't need America anyway.
April 18th, the UFC is back up and running.
Let's go! I love that man. He's worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. At this point, he has an office in Las Vegas that's the size of most mansions. I mean, he is living a life where obviously they bought the UFC for, $1 million or something, sold it for a couple billion. He's maintained now from his Fertitta friendship into the new ownership of WME. He's allowed to do whatever the hell he wants. He's made so much money, and he's Vince McMahon. He's the modern-day Vince McMahon of UFC. Your motivational speech for our listeners to come back to McAfee and Hawk, a sports show, tomorrow.
So, yeah, I'm not doing the inspirational thing. You like to do this and try to paint me into a corner and get all your little buddies to cheer and rally around and have the sarcastic cheer for me to do something like that.
No, that's not what we do at all. You don't know us at all.
So, yeah, I know your game. I'm older than all of you, too, I believe. So, like, it's not like I'm the little brother that you're taking advantage of. That's what you try to do here in these moments. I know.
No.
So, I could hearing the guys' voices in the background. AJ. But, yeah, I think right now we're in the weirdest time ever, Pat. We really are.
Yeah, we are.
It's a brutal, weird time. Stop clapping for me. It's not a motivational talk.
Yeah, it is. Let's go.
You have a 10 to 12 radio show still every day, correct?
Oh, yeah, I do.
So, yeah, and most likely at 1 p.m. daily, we're going to go on here, and we're going to talk about what's going on and see free agency in the world.
Where's a wall for me to run through? Thank you for that, AJ.
This is so stupid.
That's what we're talking about, AJ. AJ Hawk. AJ Hawk. AJ Hawk. AJ Hawk. AJ Hart!
Look good, feel good, play good.
Play good, pay good, live good, die good. You want to fornicate with me? You either get on the train or you're laying on the tracks getting run over. It's their sandbox. You gotta play by their rules. But at some point, Goodell has to come out and be like, yo, kick him out of the league. I do not get cramps in my hands when I'm writing checks.
He definitely deserves an apology, and that's my bad on that.
Work-life balance is a load of crap.
He's taking a bunch of average Joes.
Some of these younger guys, they're so confident in their ability that they don't think they need any advice.
Like, what are you doing? You don't see the best teams doing that.
It's just finding a way to be better today than you were yesterday. One bad decision can affect the rest of your life.
Come on, Chicago! Let's hug it out, you little bitches!
I would have had Aaron Donald at D tackle. they couldn't even line up and play football.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Our essence is not infinite. Let's make our todays better than our yesterdays, because we truly have no idea if tomorrow will ever come.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
You're damn right it is, Chase Rice. I appreciate you for that free introduction. Welcome back to Pat McAfee Show here. Hour 2 kicks off in beautiful fashion. At Nick Morado is here. At Ton Diggs is here. At Ty Schmidt is here. Jason McAfee's here. Cuban Zeet at Viva Lazito is here. At Evan Foxy. And Boston Connor looks like a buffoon. Travel. You traveled 45 times in there. You're still traveling. Pivot foot. All right, mute his mic. Connor somehow yesterday he had a polo with a baseball shirt on. You remember that baseball jersey? Mm-hmm. Today he comes with polo basketball jersey. What is the thought whenever you dress yourself?
Oh, Mike's not muted. I mean, honestly, I just take a look at the wardrobe and I think, yeah, let's just try it out. let's just give it a run. And that's been the thought process. I got a couple more planned for the next few days.
I'll tell you what, pretty good pop whenever he walks in the office, though.
I do appreciate that. Although he wants to wear his jerseys, he's still wearing a polo underneath to cover up his gross, pale skin.
Oh, you think that is why?
Oh, no. Actually, I just don't want my fat tits pouring out the side of the shirt. It's just a bad look for everybody, you know? It's just not a good look.
Poor Connor.
You definitely messed up a cord back there.
All right. Yeah, definitely. You sound terrible. That's what happens, though. The morning has been dominated by Tom Brady on Howard Stern. Tom Brady was on Howard Stern this morning for an hour and a half and talked about everything. He talked about he and Gisele's marital issues that happened about 3 years ago, where she wrote him this long letter about how she wasn't happy in the relationship. She was not satisfied in the relationship, and that has kind of pivoted on how he does things and changed him a little bit. Have they won a Super Bowl? Yeah, they have won a Super Bowl since. So they all right. I just want to.
Yep.
I don't want to be the guy that does that, but I mean they have won a Super Bowl since. So
lost one too.
By the way, yeah, but also he is not only won a Super Bowl, but also won his marriage back, which is probably a big deal for him. Congratulations to him. Eye-opening interview with Tom Brady and Howard Stern. I mean, eye-opening. The things he talked about in there about how, you know, it felt good to be recruited finally. And basically, he talked about how he, Belichick, and Kraft all knew that this was probably going to be his last season in New England. The conversation that he had with Kraft before officially deciding to leave, and how he called Bill Belichick to tell him he was officially going to leave, because he said in the past there had been situations where he said something and then somebody heard it and somebody heard it and then somebody told Bill Belichick. And he addressed a lot of the rumors that were about the Bill Belichick-Tom Brady relationship being false. He said he and Bill Belichick have a lot of respect for each other. He always felt like he was Bill Belichick's guy, by the way, because Bill Belichick in his first year drafted him, brought him in. He said at Michigan he did not feel as if he was Carr's guy. He said it was nice to feel as if he was a guy. They gave him every opportunity to do so, and he didn't want to disappoint him basically throughout his entire life. He talked about how he thought about it was a great interview. And we'll talk to Peter King in 10 minutes about that. Peter King and I were supposed to talk one time before, but he had an interview with Chris Ballard he wanted to, which I will ask him about for sure.
Yep. Have to.
Clean my house.
Yeah.
Top to bottom. Yeah. Thought we were going to do a walk around like a cribs type thing. Is basically how we said it. Let's make it cool, like maybe walk around the house or something like that. And for those that don't know, my house is hilarious.
You mowed too, didn't you?
Mowed the lawn. I mean, set up the back, cleaned the pool.
Clean the pool, yeah.
Cleaned the pool. I mean, I had the skimmer out on the pool. I mean, it was just a entire thing. And then I got an interview with Chris Ballard, and then he went and did that. So, but I have a lot of respect for Peter King. That's why I was going to let him to my house. But I haven't talked to him since then. He texted me afterwards. I gave him the scene. Left him on scene for months now at this point. We're probably 8 months at this point. So I'll be great. I'll be happy to chat with him because he obviously knows that situation rather well. He's up in that area. He knows everybody in the NFL. I'll be excited to hear his thoughts because whenever Kraft and Belichick, when everybody was talking about how, including us, like, do they not want Tom back? At that point, they had already decided basically that this was going to be Tom's last year and they're looking ahead to the future. Just like a couple years ago, whenever it was rumored that Bill Belichick wanted Jimmy G, didn't want Tom Brady. They wanted to move forward with another quarterback. Tom Brady came out and talked about that on Howard Stern. He said, hey, listen, that's Bill Belichick's job, is to think about the future and prepare for the future. And every coach and GM should be doing that. He said, my job was to make it difficult for them to make that decision, basically. I learned a lot during that conversation. Can't wait to chat with Peter King and to pivot a little bit to the obviously incredibly weird circumstance we're currently living in with quarantine and a worldwide pandemic. Our hero, Jameis Winston, has set up a hotline for COVID-19 questions. He was on Fox News this morning. He was talking about it. He had Raycons in, I believe, if you look at the photo. He had Raycons in, and it says, NFL quarterback Jameis Winston develops toll-free hotline for people with questions about COVID-19.
Free hotline sponsored by Dr. Kelly and Jameis Winston. If at any time you're experiencing extreme difficulty breathing, blue lips, severe chest pain, confusion, or any medical emergency, please call 911.
Okay, not Jameis?
Our COVID-19 Digital Answer Center can answer most of your questions and even have a doctor call you back, all using your mobile device.
Okay.
To take advantage of this feature, press 1. To hear a list of COVID-19 related facts and information, press 2.
Wait, we should have waited to hear. Nah.
To see what 3 was.
Yeah, because we don't know what 3 was. Maybe it was Jameis
For
giving us
Jameis'
some motivational
personal number.
Yeah, maybe it was a motivational speech. Did you hit 2?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Would you like me to send you a text?
No.
Press 1 for yes or 2 for no.
2. Did you hit 2?
Yeah. I don't know what the connectivity is when we put it live. I don't
I'm sorry,
think we have
I didn't
access.
get that. Would you like me to send you a text? Press 1 for yes or 2 for no.
Where's Jameis, lady? 2.
And the
It
buds?
doesn't read it.
Oh, you fat fingered it.
Listen, Jameis Winston trying to look out for people, though.
I
Hey,
know.
him and a doctor teamed up to make this toll-free number. Now, granted, it didn't work for us at all.
Got a couple bugs to work out.
It did not.
Can't
Did not
use a
work.
landline. Can't use a landline.
Hey, hit that number back. Let's hear what 3 was potentially. You know, because maybe it was a motivational speech by Jameis, and maybe he's even eating W's on the toll-free phone number.
By the way, it's 844-TEST-COVID.
844-TEST-COVID, Jameis Winston's toll-free number for your questions on COVID-19.
844-TEST-COVID.
TEST-COVID.
Do you think that line's just getting jammed right now?
Here we go. We're back with Jameis.
Thank you for calling the COVID-19 free hotline sponsored by Dr. Scott Kelly and Jameis Winston.
Our guy.
If at any time you're experiencing extreme difficulty breathing, blue lips, severe chest pain, confusion, or any medical emergency, please call 911. Our COVID-19 Digital Answer Center can answer most of your questions and even have a doctor call you back, all using your mobile device.
This is smart, by the way.
To take advantage of this feature, press 1.
Okay.
To hear a list of COVID-19 related facts and information, press 2.
Okay. Oh, so there is only 2 options. Okay, so there's 2 options. We would like the second option. We're hitting it. Zito's hitting it.
It doesn't work. Can't use
It doesn't send it through
I'm
for some
sorry,
reason.
I didn't get that.
Oh.
Would you like me to send you a text?
Somebody will do
Press
it.
1 for
One-
yes.
It's a fake phone.
1-844 test
Test
COVID.
COVID.
Hey, shout out to Jameis Winston getting involved here. You know, everybody's mocking how much money people are donating. I mean, old Jeff Bezos gave $100 million. Dan Ravel did the math, obviously, because you can't just look at $100 million and go, wow, that is an incredible amount of cash, because you have to break that down further in relation to the rest of his cashes. How much is that cash? Dan Ravel did the math. It's like $56 or something like that, which By the way, $100 million is still being donated. I like that just kind of gets diminished because of, interesting stats that you could bring up. Which, by the way, I don't blame him. Because then whenever you see old Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, who has done a lot of things with Twitter that I don't necessarily love. I'm an OG Twitter guy, 140 characters, no big deal. How you doing? Been there, done that, had to spell words differently so we could fit all the words into the tweet. Built up a real, community in there where I'd reply to every single person. Then they obviously started to go to bankrupt. They had to get a little corporate. They started selling out. They started doing this. Jack has done a lot of things that I don't necessarily love that he's done, but he's kept the platform, which is my favorite social media platform, afloat. So I respect that. Donated $1 billion. $1 billion. What do you do? Do you just take a briefcase? Like, how do you donate $1 billion? I don't know how that happens. I like it. I like that we're doing it. And Jameis Winston, to his credit, he's donating a toll-free loan with that doctor, the doctor.
Dr. Andrews.
I don't think. We got to get to a break. Peter King's on the other side. What are you donating, Diggs?
$56.
Awareness.
He's raising awareness with his run for fun.
The guy just can't do it.
Can't do what?
You're donating 24 hours of your life on a treadmill.
Yeah.
I mean,
your legs, your feet.
What is this? You don't think you're donating this? You're sacrificing the health of your entire future.
Mm-hmm. Your heart.
For the stay at home to the dome fun run COVID-19 awareness run.
Do you know Jack's net worth is?
$3 billion.
Yeah, 33% of his net worth.
Yeah. By the way, if you have $2 billion, that's more than $1 billion.
Still okay.
That's why everybody's mad at Bezos, though.
He just donated $10 billion though to the Earth like 2 weeks ago. So
he just dumped it down there. By the way, to his credit, everybody's saying that the
worked.
ozone's coming back. Peter King's on the other side. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. All right. Since we don't get in days like today, wherever we have multiple guests, it's hard to get to the phone line. So let's do it during a commercial break. And also, we can let these fucking stooges swear because they got zero filter when they get on the air and they cause us FCC violations that are larger than Zito taking the fucking roof off an RV at MetLife Stadium. Speaking of MetLife Stadium, let's go to Andrew in New York. Andrew, what's going on, pal?
Hey, Pat, what's up? How you doing?
Not too shabby, man. How are you?
Doing all right, doing good. So now that Tom Brady has sailed away from New England on to Tampa Bay, living in Jeter's place, what's the over-under on the Patriots' primetime games?
Would they draft Tua or not?
If they don't draft Tua.
I think because of the Patriots, they'll get 2. I think there'll be 2 primetime games, and they might get flexed out of the later one if they're not having a great season. If they draft Tua, or if Stidham blows up early, look for at least 2, I think. I mean, they're still the Patriots. You still want to put Bill Belichick on television. He was the face of that NFL 100 show, and he won an Emmy for it. Bill Belichick's still a GOAT. They're going to want to use him. I'd say 2 primetime games. Thank you, Andrew. Great question. Let's go to Quinn over there in Kansas. What's going on, Quinn? Fucking Quinn. Are you
Quinn?
Connor, what do you do to these people?
No,
You just tell them whenever they get on the phone to suck?
Quinn, I said, hey, look, man, we might go on the phones during break. Be ready. Did you?
You did not say that because we didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, I did.
No, you were back there traveling with that fucking basketball in your little closet.
I kept my pivot foot strong the entire time.
Let's go to Enoch in Salt Lake City. Enoch, what's good?
There we go.
Good name.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? I'm loving the show.
Oh, thank you, Enoch. We appreciate you calling, bub. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so you guys were talking about Ike Taylor the other day. He was talking about how it's kind of a hard transition for some players coming out of college. Although I think I remember a comment by Amari Cooper saying that for SEC receivers, he feels like it's just the same because the talent is just the same as the SEC. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, let's ask Rex Ryan. What do you think? Enoch, you're in I think if you square off against a number 1 corner, which there are plenty in the SEC, but even in the SEC, there are plenty of weeks where you're squaring off against a guy who's going to be working at McDonald's probably in the future. I mean, that's just a guy who's going to be incredible at LA Fitness or at YMCA working out. Maybe they'll be in the XFL for a couple years or something along those lines, but that's just the nature of the beast. Not every single player in the SEC ends up in the NFL. It's an all-star game of all the division, all the conferences. So I respect Amari Cooper saying he goes against, because there's a lot of great corners that come out of the SEC, but even then there's still some weeks that you can have off, and it's a much different game when you got defenses disguising coverages the way they do, where you don't know if a safety's coming over to get you or anything like that. I like what Amari Cooper's saying. He's probably in much better position to talk about this than me, but if I'm just talking as an outsider from the, with some of my observations, that's what I would think. We have 1 minute, so we got to get back on the air. You're from Salt Lake City. Are you a Mormon over there?
Yeah, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Let's go. Austin Coley's my dude, man. That's my guy.
Oh, good receiver. Hey, I love you guys' show. Watched it pre-quarantine, watch it during the quarantine, and I will watch it afterwards as well. You guys are awesome. Love your content. I do have something for you for the Office Olympics. If you ever heard of a ghost pepper candy, you should look it up, man. That thing is going to burn really bad.
Enoch. You're supposed to be a good guy. Church of Latter-day Saints. Supposed to walk as if you're Jesus. Now you want me to ruin my butthole again. All right, we're back in 30 seconds. That was a good call by Enoch.
It was.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, Wednesday, April 8th, being joined by a NFL journalism legend, a man who's been there, done that with everything, except for the conversation we're supposed to have at my house. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter King. Peter.
Pat McAfee, how are you?
Peter, I'm great. You and I were supposed to have a conversation during training camp. You got hooked up with a Chris Ballard conversation, which I think is going to pay long-term dividends, and I completely appreciate and respect. Sorry I didn't respond to your text. I had to act like I was cold shouldering you.
Yeah, I figured one day we might kiss and make up.
Did you listen to that Tom Brady Howard Stern interview this morning? It was spectacular.
I heard it was. No, I was out with my dog, and I was following it on Twitter as I was walking. So
okay, so let's go through a couple things. He alluded to the fact that he, Kraft, and Belichick basically knew going into last season that it was going to be his last season as a Patriot. Was that the story that you were getting all along? Because there was a lot of chatter there as free agency was kicking off where everybody was like, the Patriots aren't trying to keep Tom, when it was really kind of expected, I think, by all three of those guys that was going to be his last season. Was that the feeling up there or in the sources that you heard during the season?
Well, Pat, on January 4th, Brady's last game, they played the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs. And at 4 p.m. before that night game, I sat with Kraft, and he was fervently hopeful that that they could retain Brady. Now, what was said before the season, just my belief is that Tom Brady knew before the season, based on what he said today, which I did not know until he said this, based on what he said today, that he knew that he was probably gone. Now, I think a little bit of this, honestly, is that Brady does not always share, and even with people who are very, very close to him. And it wasn't until Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington started dropping the hints during the season that Brady was gone that I started saying, wow, very interesting. I did not know. I have a decent relationship with him, but not the kind of relationship where I feel he would confide something like that in me.
Yeah, I think he's probably scared to let that out. I would assume that all parties involved, even if they had a discussion before the season, like, let's go with the mindset that this is probably going to be the last, but maybe a chance if we do something good to move forward. I assume it was an open-ended conversation, but the decision was probably made up by Tom. There's another thing he said in there that was very interesting to me, and for a guy that has been dialed into the NFL for so long and knows everybody in there, Tom Brady said there was a lot of teams interested in him in free agency, and to respect to their privacy, he was not going to say anything. Did you know of any teams that had what it seemed to be a pretty comfortable quarterback situation that was thinking about potentially going with Tom Brady, or because
not teams that had a comfortable quarterback situation, but definitely I talked to Tom Telesco, the GM of the Chargers, yesterday, and it's on my podcast today. And he admitted that, I said to him, "How close did you get to Brady?" He said, "You'll have to ask Tom." And then he said some things that were very filtered and very careful. But it was my understanding that it came down to the Chargers and the Bucks, and not only talent but location appealed to Brady, which, you wonder a little bit about that, because for years Tom Brady has worked out in LA with Adam Dato and Tom House and the throwing doctors out in Los Angeles. And I mean, he spends time there every year getting his mechanics worked on. And so I was just a little bit surprised. I don't know. I was a little bit surprised that the Chargers were not in it more than they were at the end.
Yeah, it's very interesting because he talks about being a California kid a lot. In a lot of these, in his Players Tribune post, he talked about how he grew up in San Mateo, and then how the Pacific Ocean was due west his entire life, and getting acclimated to the East Coast was a completely different ball game, even though he's at Michigan. I would have thought that a West Coast team would have been in there. The 49ers was a team that I thought was potentially in the running, and there was a little smoke there, and then ultimately they chose Jimmy G over him. But was there anything
Pat,
to that?
I really think that what we're going to find out someday, and I don't know when, but someday we're going to find out that Kyle Shanahan was really interested in getting Tom Brady. And let the chips fall where they may. That's just a gut feeling I have. I don't have anything to base it on. But if they were so totally sold on Jimmy Garoppolo, why didn't they just say it? Or leak it to somebody, saying we have no interest in Brady, we got our guy. They never said it. For a month, they stewed and they thought, and who knows? I'm saying that how the media works, and basically it's very easy for somebody in the 49ers organization to call a Schefter, let's say, and to say, hey, you can be very confident if you report we're going to have no interest in Tom Brady, but they never did.
Is that how it works, by the way? Is that how, like, the Schefters report?
Sometimes.
Does that
Sometimes.
No, but I'm being serious. That's like Lynch talked about it, I think, at the Combine. He talked about how Jimmy G is nowhere near his ceiling and he's our guy and stuff like that. But afterwards, there was more smoke coming out, and they never said anything. That is they had a lot of opportunities to do so. But is there, and any piece of information I hear from the media, I always wonder who's that coming from, right? And that's because I've been in the locker room and I've understand and I've saw how it worked whenever Peyton was getting released, the whole thing. I really got a firsthand, but not everybody sees it that way. Is it as easy as that, as somebody calls and says, hey, listen, we don't want to say this because we don't want to look as if we're answering these types of rumors, but you can feel very good if you report this?
Well, either that, I'm not necessarily saying that they would have called him, but I bet you $100 that Adam Schefter made 10 phone calls to the 49ers since the Super Bowl to try to find out what was going on inside their organization, because that's what he does. And I'm saying that all anybody would have had to do is say, hey, listen, we have no interest. They never said that.
That's so
interesting. And look, I'm not saying Adam is the only guy who talks to anybody inside the 49ers, but I'm saying that the 49ers had a chance to do that. They never did it. And that leads me to believe that there was definitely more than some smoke there. But in the larger sense, the whole journalism question sense, it's a great example of how this whole thing works at this time of year. When you're trying to find out what some people are doing in the draft. Like, for instance, I believe, based on a couple of conversations I've had, that there are some people inside the Bengals who like Justin Herbert and who like him a lot. And that's one of the reasons why last week in my column I said, if I were the Dolphins and I had a love of Joe Burrow well over the regard I had for any other quarterback in this draft, I'd pick up the phone and I'd call the Bengals and offer them 4 ones. Because you never know what they're going to say. The Dolphins have 5 ones in the next 2 drafts. They got 3 this year, 2 next year. If they traded 4 ones for to move up to number 1 in this draft, they would still have a 1, 4 2s, and Joe Burrow out of these 2 drafts. So why not? But again, I don't know that the Dolphins feel that way. I'm just saying that if that's the way I felt, I'd call the Bengals and offer it to them.
By the way, if you're the Bengals and you pass on Joe Burrow, an Ohio kid who's already raised more money in Ohio just with his Heisman speech and everything like that, Bengals fans would expect it, by the way, just because that's the way the organization has been. But if you go down to 5, Air Bear's still going to be there. And that's probably in their mind. They're like, okay, we're getting picks.
Maybe both Justin Herbert and Tua are there. So it might not be a bad move for the Bengals, but it's only a good move for the Bengals if there's some hard and fast belief in that organization that Justin Herbert's really good. Or Tua, one of those two guys that we're comfortable casting our lot with those guys.
A lot of smoke behind people saying that the Miami Dolphins are more into Herbert than they are into Tua. And then everybody's saying Tua's draft stock is potentially tanking right now because people are starting to question his durability. 2 of his surgeries were on sprained ankles, but he did have 4 surgeries documented in his 2 years. Are you hearing from teams that the Tua question is a big question and nobody knows what's going to happen on draft night? Or is this all smoke right now?
No, Pat, I don't know what it is. Because the Dolphins are the CIA right now. I'm just telling you, they're not contributing to any of this. But I will only say that Mike Tannenbaum, who was obviously the GM there before Chris Greer and remains close to Stephen Ross, he went on ESPN last week and he said, I think it would be irresponsible to use a top 10 pick in this draft based on his injury history and the fact that your doctors can't get their hands on him, that it would be irresponsible to take 2 in the top 10. Now, I'm not alleging anything. In my belief, I just believe if Mike Tannenbaum is saying that, he's saying that surely because it's his opinion. But I also think that his closeness to the organization, I don't know that he knows something or not. All I'm saying is that when I hear him say that, I believe that I take that a little bit more seriously than just some commentator saying I wouldn't take him in the top 10.
That's such an interesting strategy by you to decipher what information is good and what information is bad, because everybody's opinions are formed on what they hear and what they know. So if Tannenbaum's coming out and saying something, it's like, okay, maybe he wasn't told this directly, but for some reason he feels this way, and this is his circle. There's obviously a reason to potentially think that. I mean, that is a great strategy by you.
So I don't know. I have no idea if it's true. I don't have any idea if it's true or not. All I know is that when Mike Tannenbaum says something about the Dolphins, my ears perk up. That's all.
Has anybody said anything about the Chargers that make your ears perk up? Or do you think they're moving? You talked to Tom Telesco. Tom Telesco, who's with the Colts, he's the reason why I was a Colt. I'm a big fan of Tom Telesco. He has said after the Tom Brady running, they were out of that they're going to move forward with Tyrod Taylor. Anthony Lynn likes Tyrod Taylor. Everybody that's ever worked with Tyrod Taylor said he's a pro's pro. He's in there early. He's out there late. Everybody says that. Are they going to get a young quarterback? Cam Newton's still on the market. Was there ever thought about that? What do you think is happening with the Chargers?
You know what's interesting about Telesco, who I have great admiration for, and I think obviously he sat at the right hand of Poli and learned personnel, all that stuff. And I've always thought of him as maybe not a John Schneider in terms of I'll go do whatever it takes. But the interesting thing about the Chargers, Pat, is that Tom Telesco has not made a draft weekend trade in the last 2 years. He sat right where he was for every pick. And that surprised me when I looked it up yesterday. But I think if I were to guess right now, I would guess they would take somebody other than a quarterback, that they're going to give Tyrod Taylor a legitimate chance to be their quarterback, and then they'll see what happens. They have a bunch of needs on that team. They have major offensive line needs. They need a tackle of the future. They could sit there at 7 and get a guy like Wirfs or the Alabama tackle. They're going to get a really good tackle at 6, rather. And so my gut feeling is that's what they're going to do. But again, I wait to make calls on what teams are going to do in the draft until like late this week and then for the next week. And I'll tell you why. You know, I know that the Chargers, they do not finalize their board until next week. And especially because they have not been around the office together and they're just doing a lot of these Zoom things. I don't think that they have decided with any sort of finality how they're going to rank all their guys. So it's one thing. I mean, I talked to him about things like that on this podcast, but he just, I don't think he's trying to play me funny or anything like that. I just think right now they have not made that decision as an organization.
Football Morning in America podcast?
Yeah.
Football
Yeah.
Morning in America.
Frank Reich, Tom Telesco, and Ron Rivera this week. It was a good pod.
That's a great pod. I can't wait to listen to it. Did Frank tell you anything about the alleged stories that Tom Brady was interested in the Indianapolis Colts and they were all in on Phillip Rivers? Is there any truth to that, you think?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I think that Tom Brady wanted – I'm not saying he would have gone to the Colts, but I think Tom Brady, in his fact-finding part of his journey, was interested in the Indianapolis Colts. Now, again, I don't have any idea whether if you give Frank Reich, Nick Sirianni, and Chris Ballard, who are going to be the guys who are going to make that choice, you give those three guys the choice, I can't tell you that that they would have picked Brady over Rivers. But the one advantage, obviously, that Rivers has is that not only did he play for Sirianni and Reich for 3 years, but he's also on a one-year deal.
Got it.
And in being on a one-year deal, if Rivers is playing great, it's November 1st, they can extend him because he will want to be extended. There's no question about it. He wants to play more than 1 year. But the good thing for the Colts is if he looks like he looked in the last month of the season, he's throwing it to the other team as much as Jameis Winston does, then they'll know that on draft day 2021, they're going to have to get a guy for the long-term future.
Jameis always takes ricochet shots. And what do you think? By the way, he does every conversation that happens. Somehow Jameis gets.
I like him. Hey, listen, Pat. The Pittsburgh Steelers should sign Jameis Winston.
A lot of people are saying
Period.
that. I think we read that in your Football Morning in America blog
Yeah.
post. I think we actually read it in yours. A lot of people are saying that because he and Ben Roethlisberger are eerily similar. If you watch that Visor Ben game against the Packers,
But I found out the Steelers really are not interested. So, I mean, I'm not Kevin Colbert, so that's the way it goes. But I'd certainly be interested if I were them. 1 year, $6 million. And then let's see what happens. I'd much rather have him number 2, other than Duck Hodges or Mason Rudolph.
Don't you say that about Duck Hodges?
I like Duck Hodges,
but
I don't want him playing quarterback for me.
Roman Harper was on the show in the first hour. And Roman Harper, not only a great football player, obviously, he loves college football. Like the way he broke down college football on our show twice was he loves Alabama, obviously. And then I asked him about the draft, and I asked him about Tua, obviously, in a conversation. And he said, in his eyes, the places that Tua could potentially end up at are obviously the Dolphins, Chargers potentially. And he says, and this would be a wild move, could you fathom Bill Belichick moving up to get Tua? With all of his draft picks, he has a lot of draft picks, and Matt Patricia, confidant of his, is at 3 right there. Do you think the Patriots would ever make that type of move on draft day to get them a quarterback if they're not sold on Stidham, and even if they are sold on Stidham, because you got Hoyer playing for free, basically, bring in a potential big-name guy, see what you got with them? Do you think the Patriots would do that, or are they sold on Stidham, you think?
No, nothing Bill Belichick would do would surprise me, and I wouldn't question it either, but yeah, you say they have a lot of draft picks. I'm trying to look it up and I can't right now. But they don't have a lot of high draft picks.
Got it.
I mean, I think they got 3 threes, but 2 of them are comp picks around number 100. But anyway, I guess my whole point is if you're going to go from 23 to 3, 4, or 5, let's say, and you're not going to go to 5 because the Dolphins wouldn't move down. But let's say you're going to go from 23 to 3. I mean, that is a tremendous cost, just a tremendous cost. And in order to do that, let's say Tua, hey, listen, when Baker Mayfield was in the draft, Josh McDaniels on Monday of draft week flew to Austin, Texas, and spent half a day with Baker Mayfield. I believe that if Baker Mayfield didn't go 1 and started to slide a la Aaron Rodgers in 2005, that the Patriots would have started around number 10 or 11 or 12 to try to move up to get him, and he would have been in New England right now as the replacement for Tom Brady. But obviously that never happened because he went number 1. But I just think the ammo it would take to get into the top 3 or 4 would be like almost 4 ones or something like that. And hey, look, I really like Tua. I don't know how you can't like him, but you said it. 2 high ankle sprains, both which required surgery. A major hip surgery. All of those things happen in the span of 13 months. He's a tremendous risk, in my opinion.
Last question before we let you go, and I can't thank you enough for your time here, Peter. Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Such an interesting situation here. Obviously, last year, they wanted him to bet on himself. They didn't extend him. They could have. They chose not to. He had his best statistical year to date. Now, granted, they didn't make the playoffs. Jerry Jones was interviewed last year on Good Morning Football at a Salvation Army thing. They were supposed to be about charity, and all it was about was Dak Prescott. And he said, my hands don't get cramps when I'm writing checks, and I just want to win some games. So he very much made it clear, like, I will pay somebody, but I'm looking for a winner here. Do you think Jerry Jones is not sold on Dak Prescott yet, or is it because they don't know how he and Mike McCarthy are going to work, or is there just real butting of heads in the contract negotiations between Dak and the Dallas Cowboys in your eyes?
Real butting of heads. This has nothing to do with the fact Jerry Jones wants Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott wants to be there. Dak Prescott has tough agents who are going to make the Cowboys pay. And the worst mistake the Cowboys ever made is to not be proactive. Quarterback salaries never go down. Never. And so they are paying the price for basically dragging their feet in these negotiations. I think he's going to play under the franchise tender this year. If I'm Dak Prescott, I am taking a page out of Mike McCartney's book, The Agent for Kirk Cousins, who has made Kirk Cousins more money than almost any play. I bet Kirk Cousins, when he retires, will have made more money than, like, other than Manning, Eli, Brady, and Breeze. He will. Just look at what he's doing. Every year, he's in the top 3 or 5 paid quarterbacks in football. Every year. He hasn't played like it, but every year he's there. And so I think if I was Dak Prescott and I wasn't worried about my health and I like gambling on myself, just sign that tender and play for it.
$33.9 million. Alongside being the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback, you're going to need a lot of money off the field. I'm pumped up for Dak to see what happens with him, but that's a big situation. Just the other day, Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys released some social media video of him sitting on his couch, Zooming with Jalen Hurts and his entire staff. Why did they choose to put out the video of him talking to Jalen Hurts?
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, Pat. In the last week, I've talked to 2 teams who have told me flat out, absolutely, Jalen Hurts is going in the second round.
Okay.
And he has been thought for a long time. He'll go around, 80, 90, 100. But now, if you want him, you better pick him in the second round. And I think the reason that is, he had a very good scouting combine, number 1. But I think people are now realizing what he can mean to a team. And I wouldn't be surprised if a team with a really good quarterback picked him, so that team can start to do some Taysom Hill type stuff. It just wouldn't surprise me at all. And so I could see him going anywhere. But I do think he'll be gone in the first 60 picks.
How about Cam Newton with some Taysom Hill stuff for an offense if he's a backup quarterback?
The problem with Cam Newton as a backup quarterback is that you need to sit across a table from Cam Newton right now, or you need to look at him on FaceTime. And he has to tell you, I am okay with being a tutor and a support guy. I will be Josh McCown this year for your quarterback. It's hard for me to imagine Cam Newton saying that. It just is. And he might be that, and he might be really good at it. But I need to hear that out of his mouth before I would want to sign him, if I had a situation where I was really comfortable with my starter.
It's interesting because I view Cam Newton as a starter, and I think he's going to.
Of course,
I view him.
I do too.
And I think he's just in a bad situation. Like, this just sucks for Cam Newton.
This offseason is the worst thing for Cam Newton.
I agree.
It's impossible for Cam Newton, and it's not his fault, but it's because he has not been Cam Newton for a year and a half. Okay, first there's the shoulder, and then there's the foot. So if Cam Newton, needs a job, what he needs to do is he needs to go spend some time with coaches. He needs to go spend a day with Josh McDaniels and spend 2 hours with Belichick and to have everything examined by Patriots physicians. And they can't do that right now. And that's the biggest problem that he has.
So interesting. Peter King, I appreciate you, man. We read your column. Listen to that podcast with Tom Telesco, Frank Reich, and Ron Rivera. I appreciate you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, from NBC Sports, Peter King. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for blowing me off, Peter. Thanks
All right. You're welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Have a good one, man. He, a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
The Colts picked Phillip Rivers over Tom Brady.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's why Tom Brady is not an Indianapolis Colt.
That's wild.
Good decision. Good decision. Let's get to a break. Good decision. Did you hear Tom Brady in that interview this morning? Oh, yeah. That dude is still ready to run people over. He might play for another 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh. It's all right. I love Phil Rivers is a good quarterback, man. Phil Rivers throws the ball well.
Never beat Brady.
Let's get to the break. 40 minutes after the hour, you're listening.
I think everyone always wanted to know who's responsible for the dynasty in New England. Was it Bill Belichick or was it Tom Brady? And we're going to get a glimpse of that this year.
What do you think?
Listen, man, it's both of them. Everybody asks me all the time. It's hard for me to separate the two. Bill developed Tom, but Tom played the game at the highest of levels. You saw it up close and personal, Pat. The way this dude, especially in crunch time played, being in that huddle with him, I knew we were going to win. I knew every time I stepped on the field with Tom, we were going to win because we were more prepared and we had a guy quarterback who just had a killer instinct.
That's what everybody thought, by the way, whenever he got on that field in the playoffs with, a minute 20 left or something like that, down whatever it was. And it ended up being a pick six as his last play ever as a New England Patriot. Ever.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of conversation of he will not let the pick six be his last play as a Patriot or whatever, or anything like that. I think he was moved on from the Patriots. I don't want to say that he wasn't giving his best effort last year because I think he was. Tom Brady's a competitor. There's no way he's not going to go out and show out whenever he's on the field. That's just because he views himself as a sixth-rounder. I think he was mentally preparing that this was his last season as a Patriot in the middle of the season. Now, he said it didn't happen until after his visit with Kraft. Do you view that the same way? I think this was kind of like, I'm getting the hell out of here. I got to go see if the grass is truly greener somewhere else after this.
Absolutely. Pat, you got to understand the last deal that he did, he put in his contract that he couldn't be tagged. He couldn't be tagged again. So if you put that in your contract, aren't you already kind of thinking ahead like, all right, I'm putting the expiration date on the Patriots, and I'm looking forward to something else after my time with the Patriots. So I agree with you, man. I think during, even before last season, I think his mind was already set on, you know what? It's been great. It's time for me to move on.
I think so, too. All right, I want to ask you about the word elite, because when we were in your building, if something was called elite, it was massive. It's like, hey, this is elite. You told me my performance on College Game Day was elite. I got so excited just because I know how big of a word that is for your program. What is elite? Why are you guys elite? And why is that the most important word in the dictionary for Minnesota Gophers?
First of all, it's a lifestyle, right? And it's a standard. And my wife, Heather, always tells me what's the hardest part about being the standard is you're the standard. And you're always the standard, right? And so the Navy SEALs call themselves elite. It's a special part of the Navy, right? It's the elite of the elite. It's a group that's just different. Now, we define elite as a necktie mentality, a Prefontaine face, and a farmer's alliance. I know that doesn't make any sense to all of you, but a necktie is an organism that can flow through water without the water current dictating its behavior. So a great white shark is a necktie. It always attacks, and it's never full. It's never satisfied. So whether that's academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, it's never satisfied. Navy SEALs can fight on land, water, and air. They are never satisfied. And they're the elite of the elite. So we want them to have this always attack, never full mentality in their whole life. As a husband, as a father one day, as a student athlete, as a representation of University of Minnesota. Then the Prefontaine pace is just we want them to do things urgently. There's no procrastination in this program. Zero. Whatever you can do tomorrow, find a way to do it today. Right? Don't put it off to tomorrow, no matter what. And that's what we talk to our players about. And then the last part is the Farmers Alliance, and that's about trust. My farm is right next to your farm. Your farm is just as important to mine because the seeds of corn are on top, and the wind will dictate what our crop is like. So you have to take care of each other, and you have to love each other, and you have to be very selfless. So that's what elite is to us. I know it's a big definition. It sounds like all these fancy slogans and words, and oh my gosh, he's just a slogan guy. It's simple. It's just finding a way to be better today than you were yesterday and fighting human nature.
Coach, you just made me want to neck on through a wall, bro. That was...
What's up? If you're listening right now, I want you to take a second and look on. When was the last time you shaved your junk? It's been a while. Don't lie. Let's take a second to thank our sponsor, Manscaped, for holding you accountable to get rid of the funk and shaving that junk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and hygiene. Manscaped is forever changing the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0 Essential Kits. This third-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to prevent manscaping accidents. Wow. Millions of balls are about to be nick-free thanks to Manscaped's advanced skin-safe technology.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to call to action now.
Please do, Z.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AMERICA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code AMERICA. Your partner, your body, and your balls will say, oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah! Yeah! Trimmed shrubs, tree stands taller. Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Rocky in California. How's it going down there? Sounds like you're not in quarantine.
It's going. Quarantine life is one. I don't know. How you boys doing?
I mean, Rocky, need you to speak into the phone. Need you to have a little bass in your voice. We'd like to hear what you're saying. Your name's Rocky. You're probably a legend. I would like to hear what you have to say. Come on, Rocky.
All right. Is this better?
Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah!
Well, a little different.
How you guys doing today? It's a great Wednesday.
Well, Wednesday, April 8th. Yeah, it's a Wednesday. What do you want to talk about, Rocky?
Hey, so, you guys just got with an awesome conversation with Peter King, and you guys talked about the Niners, but the one thing you guys didn't touch on that I wanted to hear about is the Niners are hurting for a receiver after losing Emmanuel Sanders. Now, do they draft a top prospect coming out of Clemson, Alabama, something like that, or do they go with OBJ or Antonio Brown? Because Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch seem like the two type of people who could handle those personalities in the locker room.
Great question, Rocky. We said a couple weeks ago that Antonio Brown ended up with the San Francisco 49ers would be a nightmare because we automatically assumed Antonio Brown would end up wherever Tom Brady goes, and Bruce Arians came out very loudly and was like, nope, not going to have him here. So then you start looking around and you're like, what culture could handle Antonio Brown coming in there? Antonio Brown, by most people's accounts, best wide receiver in the game whenever he's in there. You saw he wanted the Patriots for like a week and a half. He caught 7 balls and a touchdown in the first drive. I mean, he's unguardable. Now, obviously, off the field, there are distractions a litany of distractions, right?
said.
With thank you. That was from Trey Wingo's
Well
tweet.
said.
I was trying to think back of what the word. I actually read the tweet in my head. That's the pause was getting to the second line where it said litany. A litany of distractions. Obviously, he's officially been charged with a couple things. There's accusations for other things happening. He has done things that make people go, "Why would you continue to do this?" He became a rapper at one point, but his talent on the field is just—it's unbelievable. He's a guy that there's always been a, quote, be who you can afford to be in the NFL. And Antonio Brown has been who he could be for a long time. And now it's gotten to the point where a lot of people are saying, we can't deal with all of it that this guy brings. But you start looking around the NFL. You're like, what locker room, what culture could potentially have that? The Saints, right? They got a veteran quarterback, veteran coach, veteran locker room. They brought him in for a workout last year. He just got home from the Edo. Sean Payton.
Talk about the
Dillo. He rapped about it. I don't know if they're going to sign him after that because they said, don't only come alone. Don't bring a crew. He brought a crew. Then he made a rap song about it. But still, that was one of the environments where we thought, you know what, they could handle Antonio Brown. You start looking around the NFC, though, feels like the Niners are a team that could, and they are in need of another wide receiver. They got Deebo Samuel, who we talked to, Slant God, who's working down in Atlanta right now. He's only going to get better. They have a defense that's remarkable. George Kittle is electric. Jimmy G, a run game that's next level, and an offensive line. If they get Antonio Brown, they're going to be a real problem, and they seem to have the culture that could take care of it. But we still have no idea if Antonio Brown's going to be able to play football next year. We have no idea how long the NFL is going to suspend him for. We have no clue the investigations that are happening off the field or the investigations that are happening on the field if he was to get back with the team. So I'm not 100% sure that Antonio Brown will end up with the Niners, but that is the team he can go to. And for OBJ, they would have to trade for him, and that would be a pretty massive trade given the fact that I think they gave up a 1 for him just last year. Now, Andrew Berry, new GM. I want to build up my roster how I want to build it. Hardworking guys. He signs Austin Hooper to the biggest tight end contract in NFL history and said he just wants a blue-collar team that works hard. Odell Beckham, by the way, you don't become that good at football or that fast without working your ass off. I would assume he's a hard worker. I think the Browns are going to give it one more go here without Freddie Kitchens, running that team right into the basement. Freddie Kitchens is probably a great guy. Would love to drink a beer with him. But they are the most penalized team in documented history. That has to fall on who? Probably the head coach.
Stooge.
I mean, he
Someone
is.
has.
No, he is.
No,
He
nobody
is.
has to say he's a stitch. Freddie
Had to be said.
Kitchens is taking enough. But anyways, I don't think Odell Beckham is going to be on the block. I think that would have already happened. If that was the case, they would want to get draft picks and stuff like that for this upcoming draft. And Antonio Brown, I'm not sure anybody's going to touch him because they have no idea what the suspension is going to be, especially with more charges being brought up. Or not more charges, actual charges happening now with that whole incident with the moving guy and then a bag of dildo. The whole thing. There's a lot going on. So I would like to see Antonio Brown back in the league again. I'd like to see him become a good member of our society as well, just because of how talented he was in football. And that picture that's being shown right now is literally 40 yards after he juked me into the ground in front of my family, and all those people loved it. And that security guard person got kicked and punched by Antonio Brown. He is electric on the field. He is very good. I'm just not sure anybody will take a shot at him. Good question, though, Rocky. I appreciate it.
What about another NFC West team who did some research on him, is not afraid to bring in a personality in the Seattle Seahawks?
That'd be... Anybody who gets Antonio Brown is going to get better. And the Seattle Seahawks, for some reason, are always good. Russell Wilson, the most positive human in the history of anything. They're always good, but they'll never... I think the sentiment is they'll never get back to where they were without the Legion of Boom. You get Antonio Brown around Russell Wilson and Sierra, maybe Sierra and Antonio Brown make a song together. Huh? Now Antonio Brown's the number one artist and the number one wide receiver for Russell Wilson. And he's like, go Hawks, pause. Hey, baby, come on now, baby. Hey, here we go now, baby. Hey. Great day to be great. Cool your eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Him and Antonio Brown could be a nice little match made in heaven. And also, maybe Russell Wilson takes Antonio Brown to a Yankee game because Russell Wilson plays for the Yankees.
There's no way those guys would get along.
What are you talking about?
No way. I mean, Russell Wilson is basically Derek Carr, and that didn't work out either.
No.
In terms of personality.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson's growing out his long hair right now.
He's not fooling anybody.
What are you talking about?
The heavy church guys?
Yeah, exactly.
He does love the Lord.
That's what happened. That's why him and Ben turned ways, because Ben fell in love with...
Oh, Ben wakes up every morning with his kids and leads a Bible study.
National anthem.
That's who he is.
AB calls God. Calls God.
AB does call God.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to church on
Russell
Sundays.
Wilson's
though.
like, hey, I call God too, man. Hey, we're playing football together. Pete Carroll comes in, chewing his gum. Hey, you and Russell call God every day. But that environment, by the way, from what everybody says, Antonio Brown would thrive in. Compete every day. Everybody that's ever been around Antonio Brown's like, in practice, the dude is an animal. He's next level. Doesn't slow down. Well, we'll see. I hope he gets back in the league, but I hope he becomes a good human first again. That'd be great for everybody. On our bad show today, Roman Harper and his big-ass neck joined us. Talked about Tom Brady and Howard Stern. Little Peter King revenge conversation after he blew me off a couple months ago. A couple phone calls from some people. Enoch called us.
Yeah.
Had a Mormon on the show today. Big day.
Big day.
Big day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Will we carry that on, I wonder? Will oh yeah make it to tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we will. We'll see you then. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. Um, 366 days ago, April 7th, 2019, is a day that will forever live in infamy. And it's a day that not only was the trajectory of WrestleMania changed, and not only was the trajectory of the New York Jets and the New York Giants' future changed, it was a day that an old lady, a sweet old lady, the sweetest old lady, remembered and was reminded that you should never rent an RV to a man named Zito. The MetLife mishap has been remastered and remixed. Same outcome, same laughs. Hit it, Foxy. But let's talk about what happened directly outside of WrestleMania in the MetLife parking lot.
And this guy tells Zeke, yeah, hey, just follow that car right down that way.
If that awning was literally 6 inches lower, I'm dead.
Hey, who the fuck told you guys to drive down there?
So I get a text from Nick that says, call me when you can. And I never get that type of text from Nick, right?
Granted, it's unfortunate that, the boys, the Roadhawks, didn't have their WrestleMania moment.
We talked about it earlier. All of us felt like we were in like a trench in World War II.
Tell you what, the WWF will be proud. That's a lot of fucking destruction.
I thought the entire building was coming down.
The best looking uprights I've ever seen in my life.
Hey, who the fuck told you guys to drive underneath there?
I will never forget April 7th.
Ain't nothing Lady Grey can't handle.
Turn left onto 33rd Street.
They said to come to the loading dock. Yeah, they want to set up a shot, so they're gonna come out with cameras and show that we're tailgating. Tailgate spot. A U-turn? Is that what you're saying? We're just doing a U-turn. Want to move up?
Such a gentleman.
And this guy tells Zeke, yeah, hey, just follow that car right down that way. And so we're thinking, okay, no problem.
Backing up.
So Zeke moseys on down this way and just fucking
Oh, he goes in!
Jesus Christ. I think it's stuck. I fucking told you guys. Come on, dude. Who told you to go through here? These guys did.
You come through this shot like that.
You told me
Yeah, right down this lane here.
Fuck. Come on, guys. Fucking A. I'll be looking out there. Oh, fuck.
So what you just heard was a RV that was clearly too tall for an awning that was hanging over. And Zito was going so fast in that the entire RV ended up under the awning.
Yep.
And it wasn't until they were all the way under that Zito said, "Oh, I think we're stuck." And at that moment, he puts it in reverse and rides back through all of it. And that's what the piercing sound of metal that you heard ripping through.
Fuck, what should we do? Fucking how we They're fucking everything up there? The backside fucked too? How's it going, sir? Yeah. Yeah, they just keep fucking sending us through here.
I'm just sending somebody out. Just hang tight, all right? Did you check the top? I mean,
It's destroyed. No, like the whole thing's. Oh, fuck. Like, they're gonna fucking send me fucking through somewhere.
You good though? Everybody all right in there?
Yeah. Stay calm.
yeah, you're right.
Stay calm, kid.
Attaboy, Nick.
They told you to go through.
I am on the bus with the rest of the WWE roster driving by. There's 2 fire trucks. There's a cop. There's paramedics. There's quite a scene.
Fucking A. What's going on, sir? Oh, yeah, they sent me through, and I was just like, all right. Yeah.
And we're just rolling by going into the fucking MetLife Stadium, and I get a Corey Graves. Is that your RV?
Yeah, you guys hear about McAfee's guys? Drove a fucking RV into the arena? Into the arena.
That road to WrestleMania, man.
Hey, I'll tell you what, that's the furthest I've ever seen any vehicle get underneath that fucking awning. Look at the ladder on the back of the RV is almost fucking off.
Light bulbs are falling.
Oh
The
my
ceiling
God.
is made of styrofoam. There's styrofoam dust falling everywhere.
The air conditioning unit probably weighs like 250 pounds, and it's just laying up there. And we're like, what should we do with this? The guy's like, oh, it's a rental. You want to fucking take that with you? Trust me. You gotta be shitting. So eventually, he was like, yeah, actually, it's leaking a good deal of coolant. Why don't you just throw it down the fucking hill over there? Damage is already done. Just throw that thing down the fucking hill.
It was a good run. It was a good run.
We thought you were going to fire us all, going to be so pissed. And then we look at the group chat, and you say, boys, the hashtag road to WrestleMania is not always a smooth one. Somebody send the RV agreement to Phil. And then in all caps, with a quote, we took the roof off at the MetLife.
So I'm looking around. The cop's like, I was trying to explain to the cop, like, this guy, and I'm like looking around, no one's there. And I'm like, shoot. And he was basically telling me it was supposed to be a $500 ticket. So he was like, but I brought it down at $85. But I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, it wasn't my fault. The guy told me to go. He was like, well, it was careless of you to go.
Let's get the fuck out of here. That was wild.
Absolutely insane.
All things considered, I think we're okay.
$85 ticket?
So what was the ticket for?
Careless driving. And I was like, is it careless fucking instructions?
I think it's low enough now. I want to make
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
So we rip out some garbage bags, we climb onto the roof of the RV, we get some duct tape, and we start duct taping the garbage bags to the holes in the roof of the RV. More yellow shirts, more security come by, and they keep yelling, "Hey, you guys got to get down from up there."
Oh yeah, and I was like, no, we actually we damaged our RV. We got to patch it up. He goes, "Oh, you guys are the guys from the awning? You guys are my fucking heroes. Go ahead." And he just drives away.
You didn't even think that there was a chance of the top getting hit, and that's why you're getting fined a substantial amount. I think maybe rule 1 of the road code is got no clearance.
You may as well be Mr. WrestleMania.
There's no other way for that trip to end. Congratulations on surviving, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Clearance sale. Should have been a know your clearance sale. Yeah, I mean that's a real story. The person that was filming that was actually a guy named Dustin and Finn Balor. We had done stuff with them, content with him like 2 days before that. Finn Balor, obviously the NXT superstar, and Dustin works for the WWE. They'd been on that RV either the day before that or 2 days before that.
Hershey.
And they were driving into their parking lot, and they literally see it. And in the audio of that, you hear him go, "Oh, no, boys." You actually hear him go, "Oh, no." And they got it all the way in and all the way out. And as soon as I get into the stadium, in MetLife Stadium, obviously it already the text message already happened, so I knew about it. As soon as I walk in there, Finn Balor and Dustin stop me. They go, "We have footage that you want to see." And I was like, "What is it?" He was like, "I got to shoot this real quick. Meet me back here in like a minute." I was like, "I have to see it." He was like, you do actually. And he pulls out his cell phone and he's like, "That's your RV?" I was like, "Oh my God, you got this shot?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Just wait." He goes in even more. And just at that moment, Zeta goes all the way in and then all the way out. And you hear him and Finn just dying laughing. And I was like, "Can you airdrop that to me?" He's like, "Absolutely." And he always gets mad that we don't give him any credit for that shot. Yeah. So we appreciate Dustin a lot. But boy, Zito, accountability was definitely not your strong suit then. But
The yellow shirts.
Yeah, it was the yellow shirts. By them.
Thank you.
Yeah. Reckless driving? Is it reckless directions, you said?
Yes, yeah. It's not accounted for at all.
My favorite part is always like he's driving and he's got like his arm out the window. There's no thought in his head that he's gonna hit that.
That tree goes flying by.
He was about to say something.
He was hitting the gas about. You know what? This is kind of fun.
Top speed was 15 the most.
No, that tree was a blur in the background.
And the tree must have been moving itself. I don't know what to tell you.
After that. By the way, Nick was sleeping above the driver's seat up in, like, if you've ever seen Road Rules, which nobody probably on YouTube has ever seen, it was a show where they went around in an RV. If you don't understand an RV, there's a bed above the driver's seat, basically. Awesome bed. You get a bird's eye view basically where you're headed. The entire back where the conversation is, you could be a part. I mean, it's the perfect place to be. Nick was sleeping, resting up for big WrestleMania, and all of a sudden he almost gets his fucking head taken off. I mean, legitimately, that streaking sound right above your head while the roof is caving in. I mean, that's a moment you said you were going to get a little PTSD from.
It was loud as hell. I still wake up in the middle of the night and have night terrors from it. Because I remember I didn't know what to do when I heard the song because I didn't know what it was at first because I couldn't see in front of us. So I didn't know the awning was there. All I heard was the sound. I went in the fetal position. I looked down. I saw Ty duck and then run to the back of the RV.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Fire in the hole.
Yeah, if there was some sort of hole that I could have crawled out of to get out of there, I would have definitely done that.
Couple people asking in the comments section, did we have to pay for the awning? Surprisingly, that awning and that pass-through was shut down for months.
Yeah.
I would get a picture from the punter for the Giants or the punter for the Jets or somebody that was playing against them, and it would just be a picture of 2 construction cones underneath that awning blocked off as if it was a construction site for months. I assume it's still shut down to this day.
Previously from that, I think he said 2 months prior, a school bus did the same thing. And they just fixed it when we went under there.
Maybe they just said enough with this. Yeah. Enough with this. This is a problem.
Still no low clearance sign on that, by the way.
It obviously did. What?
By the way.
It's only a low clearance if you don't know your clearance.
Yeah, but I don't know what that height was.
And that is why
If they had a sign on it, yes.
Oh, on what their clearance was.
Exactly.
Got it. I mean, some people would say eyeball.
Oh, but if you have an RV above, like the bed, how are you supposed to eyeball it,
Well, you account for that because you're in an
Well, that's
RV.
what I'm saying. So if I knew there was 13.6, then
Well, you
that
didn't.
sign
You
should be
didn't,
there.
though. You didn't, though.
I did.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
You were hitting the gas as that thing was going in there.
Exactly, 'cause
You
there was
thought
no
you were in the
clearance.
Kia. No. Yeah, you had your arm out like it was a Kia.
I saw there was no yellow sign saying 13.8, 13.5.
We had to
I'm gonna
pay.
go.
We had to pay the lady, obviously, because we got the cheap insurance version. So that was expensive. That lady lost her favorite RV of all time.
Yeah, and there was someone supposed to go on a family vacation right when we brought it back.
The next
Plus
day.
the water damage.
Made Zito return the keys to the lady, right? That was the only thing where really I didn't, because I never met the lady. Zito and Connor handled the business with this like amazing lady. Amazing. We paid for it because, by the way, we had to get it overnight. Like within 5 hours, we had to get it. So Zito and Connor were on the run to go get it. We get back. Yeah, just tell the lady we'll fucking bring it back. Like, what's the big deal? We're just paying her. We'll pay her whatever. And then we took the cheapest insurance because obviously we need to get it done as quickly as possible. And then, ultimately that thing ends getting scalped, and it's now probably in the fucking what's those sites called?
Landfill?
Junkyard?
Yeah, it's probably in junkyard. now.
Somebody actually sent us a review on us. They put on the website, and then she was not happy.
I can fathom. You killed her fucking business.
Oh, yeah.
Her baby.
But she had insurance as well. So she got another RV and we had to pay. So I feel like lady maybe.
She came out on top.
She might have 4 TVs on that thing now.
But she did not deserve what you did to her.
Oh, no.
No. But I'm happy you did because it's a great piece of content. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're the greatest. Cheers.